Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
I try to believe in as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Count them, Alice. 1, there are drinks that make you shrink. 2, there are foods that make you grow. 3, animals can talk. 4, cats can disappear. 5, there's a place called Wonderland. 6, I can slay the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the one. This is going to kill us.
Right?
Right? This is it.
This is the one we'll
dead.
be remembered for because it ends in a murder-suicide.
How many is this for you guys?
How many Burtons?
At this point.
21 in total?
Are you fucking serious? That many? Jesus. Why did I ever let you make me do it?
Maybe it's 17?
This is the one where I was like, what fucked it. Why? He's not good. He's bad director.
And then he made
so look.
4 more movies.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is like third to last. We've done almost all of them.
All right.
We've been going pretty out of order because of guests and such.
I believe it's 20 with Dumbo.
Okay, so it'll be 20. We haven't done Dumbo.
Jesus.
I would argue we have a couple good ones left.
Okay.
We've saved 2 of the only good late period ones.
Oh, you mean, right, because we have not yet recorded Sweeney, even though we're ahead of it now.
Right, and Big Eyes you like less than me, but I'm going to fight for it.
Yeah, you're going to lose.
I will not fight for this
Fighting
movie.
for Big Eyes is like bringing like an eye to a gunfight.
Okay, here, counterpoint, the eyes are big.
Big guns.
Big guns!
I'm going to bring my big guns.
Okay.
Maybe I'll like it this time. I don't know.
I think you will. It's a great movie. So,
I don't think so.
Yes, it is. It's a masterpiece. This film is not good.
What's the film? What's the podcast? What's your name?
This is kind of a key crux point. I'm getting to it. I'm just saying this is kind of maybe this is the one that breaks us, as you said. Maybe this is the one that breaks us, but you go, this is why I never want to cover Tim Burton. And I go, this is why we have to cover Tim Burton.
Honestly, I don't think I said that because like I figured this would be the fun episode where we're all yelling and stuff, right? Like this would be, so bad it's good.
And our guest today is the Screamin' Jay Hawkins of podcasting. Get ready for the yelling. A man with a fiery temper. He's about to go Tucker Carlson on this
He's got
studio.
a bone in his nose.
I want to be introduced first. I think that's only appropriate.
Okay, that's the correct order.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest, Todd Vanderwerf.
Hello. From Vox.
From Vox.
Sure.
A host of I Think You're Interesting.
Yes, which is soon to become another thing. So.
It's being
at this point it's probably
well, no, not at this point.
Soon,
it's relaunching April 11th.
It's in like a chrysalis.
Yeah,
like Absalom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
That was
like
my shout out.
Entirely.
No, we were gonna originally, kind of come up with a new focus for I Think You're Interesting because when we talked to like people about the title, they were confused by the title. They were like, when did I record a podcast? They thought that they were the I and I Think You're Interesting. When clearly I stated that I was the I and I
They
think
thought it was a show in which very famous people interviewed Todd Vanderwerf.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, so we were like, we're going to do a bunch of different interview formats. We're going to do that. And then we kind of came up with this idea. It's called Prime Time. It's for podcast fans, it's You Must Remember This, but for television, it's stories from the history of television,
very cool.
Things like that.
That's good.
Is that going to be its own show, or is this a part of the?
Yeah, I think it's going to take over the feed. We're figuring that out now as we speak. Now that it's March, when you're listening to this, we know it already, so you'll probably know by now. But yeah, we got so excited about that idea. We were like, well, we can't do both at the same time. My hope is that we'll bring back I Think You're Interesting, but like as a limited series type thing.
So. Do a couple a year.
Yeah.
Little mini-series.
Yeah.
I'll say, when you posted, Mahershala was your final episode, right? Before the rebranding, which was an incredible episode.
Yeah.
And then you did like sort of, not a greatest hits, but you were like, here are some of my favorite moments.
Yeah.
You are such a fucking good interviewer.
Thank you.
I was like listening to it, like taken aback. Like you genuinely, I've been on both sides of this thing now. I've interviewed people.
Sure.
I've been interviewed. I'm bad at asking questions. I find that often people ask the same stupid questions. When I listen to someone on your show, you ask at least 3 questions that's clear they have never been asked before. And you actually hear like your guests go like, wow, that's actually a good question. And they have to stop and consider it because you're not asking them the same thing that everyone else does.
Sure.
That's so bad.
What did I ask you that you didn't get? Because you've both been on the show.
That's true.
Yeah.
I famously called Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol a summer movie.
Right.
work,
So,
David.
and that was your key question you asked David in response to that was, why are you such a fucking idiot? Of
Correct.
course it came out of
Correct.
Christmas. I don't remember how you phrased the question, but I feel like when we were talking about performance stuff, I somehow was able to verbalize things in a cleaner way than I ever have before.
Yeah,
Which I
yeah.
think must have been the way you pointed, because usually I'm a mess when people ask me how acting works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
How does
I-
acting work?
Don't get me started. I have no idea. I'm a mess.
Who are your guys?
Who are my guys? That I can answer. Michael Keaton. Ugh, someone's calling me.
Turn your phone off.
I thought I put it on silence. Why is it still ringing?
I don't really understand Griffin's relationship with his phone.
It's very antagonistic.
It really is. I think there needs to be some kind of intervention between you and your phone.
Yeah, I throw it into the river, and then people can't complain about me not responding because there's not even a passageway. Todd, back onto the point. You're a very good interviewer. So you still will be interviewing people
Yes.
on Mike in some form.
So
Sure.
the thing about it is that each episode's going to have interviews in it, and my hope is that we'll run the most interesting of those interviews as like a bonus that you'll get.
Gotcha.
Like you'll get the main episode, which is the You Must Remember This episode on
Right.
Thursdays, and then the next Monday you'll get like, here's our hour-long chat with Aaron Sorkin.
your
something like that.
oral history.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds great. Well,
Would
of
you
course,
walk and talk with Aaron?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Halfway.
You got it.
Yeah, we're
You
just going to
gotta.
walk and talk Wilshire Boulevard.
at least
Just-
roll and stroll. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, what if he's like, I'm rebranding, I'm Aaron Strolling. From now on, it's all strolls.
I used to
And he
be,
has a stroller line.
I used to be all about Sorkin and Torkin.
Right.
Then I became walk and talking.
What's he
Now
working-
I'm strolling and rolling. Ben is loving this.
Is he directing a movie? He's directing
doing
the Chicago
Chicago
7
7.
movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
this game wasn't bad.
Seth Rogen, Sacha Baron Cohen.
Wait, that's who's in it?
Yep.
All right.
Anyway, my guest today, Griffin Newman, David
Yes,
Sims,
there we go.
producer Ben Hosley.
We finally have a pro on the show. And tell me what the show is, because I forget.
Name of the show is Blank Check with Griffin and David.
Hells yeah.
Interested in directors' filmographies, the crazy passion projects they get to make after they have massive success early on. Sometimes those checks clear, sometimes they bounce. Baby.
He's so good at this, David.
It's true. We should just quit.
Also, his Todd, your voice is like calming.
Good voice. Yes.
I'm in good
Nice.
hands when you're speaking.
That's
Thank you.
right.
I really try to be mellifluous, if you will.
Well, speaking of wonderful voices, today we're talking about Alice in Wonderland,
I hate you.
a film that is
Tim.
the equivalent of someone screaming straight into your eyeballs
Sure.
for 2 hours.
And then just like dumping lemons in them or something.
You know,
Pooping.
Yes.
I was really, the last time I was on about Munich.
A movie you love.
Munich is one of my favorite movies of all
Right.
time. So I was like, I told David, I'm coming to New York, and he was like, "Oh, you got to do Alice in Wonderland." 'Cause
Mhm.
he knows
I
this
remember
is one
your
of my
rant.
least
He,
favorite
he
movies.
said, you have
ever
no
made."
idea how much Todd hates this film.
I remember you a few years back just ranting online, I think,
Yeah.
about the Futterwhacking scene
Yes.
and just how insane it is to think that that was a scene in a movie. Not only a scene, a sort of like climactic, fulfilling scene.
That is the point where this movie crosses the threshold into actual like felony.
right. That's
know?
the point at which like
The FBI issues
they're
their
like,
warrants.
we've seen enough.
Yeah,
Bring him in.
right.
And in a movie that was successful.
Huge.
Like if you watch that and you saw the Futterwhacking scene and someone would be like, and this is why the film of course was a flop, you'd be like, of course. I mean, you can see from the evidence on
The
screen.
Futterwhacking happens in the last 10 minutes of this film, but I think legally theaters had to issue refunds if people came and complained post Futterwhacking.
Here, I found it. Okay, so there's an Alice in Wonderland wiki
Oh boy.
that he linked to.
A specific Burton Alice in Wonderland wiki?
yep.
Wow.
Futterwhack. It's a dance in the Alice in Wonderland movie. This is not like some Lewis Carroll thing.
No, because he's taken, not he, but I mean, this film is taking like the Jabberwock. It's taking elements
Yeah,
from
it's
other
sort of
Lewis
pulling a
Carroll
lot of-
books.
yeah.
Futterwhacking is fully off the dome from Linda Wolverton.
Alice in Wonderland star Johnny Depp injured him on the set of his new movie by doing the Futterwhack, apparently. So someone else did it. I don't know, a stunt double?
Here's a tasteless question I'm going to ask.
No, not a lot else on this Wikipedia page, I got to tell you.
I'm
It
going
does
to
happen on the Frab Just Jay.
I'm
days,
going to
we all
ask
know.
a tasteless question. Did the Futterwacken ruin Johnny Depp? Is
like
that
this
the
is
moment?
it? Where his like brain breaks?
Because I feel like this is the moment where we all go like, maybe I'm getting tired of this guy's performances. But maybe he literally breaks himself physically doing the Futterwacken.
Oh, yeah.
And then his mind breaks along with him.
I think it's demonic. I think
That's what I'm saying.
like he channeled some ancient ghost
Right.
that haunts him now.
I would
Did he
say-
somehow conjure Pinhead by doing the Futterwacken?
This
on
is
set?
sort of just not in terms of Johnny Depp as a person and
Sure.
his abusive treatment of his wife and
Right.
other various, public
Which I'm going to say,
shame,
I don't like it all.
Right.
I think is tremendously bad.
I will say the year after this is Rango,
Uh-huh.
which is a film I enjoy and I like
too.
Johnny Depp in it. I don't know when
Helps
they
that you don't
shot
have to see his
thing.
face.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
So I guess you could say in Rango he's sort of trying.
Right. Tourist
Um,
is the year after this or 2 years
Taurus
after
is the
this?
same year as this. He was nominated for 2 Golden Globes this year.
They nominated him in drama and comedy?
I believe that's right. I'm going to
Wow.
double check.
Or did they nominate him twice in comedy? Did he get 2 comedy nominations? Because I know they put Tourist as a comedy, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine them classifying this as a
No,
drama.
this was a comedy. Let's see.
Did he have 2 out of the 5 Best Actor nominations?
He did.
And then,
Right. So this is the moment
No,
I think
it's-
everyone just goes like, we have let
I was
this
just
gone
gonna.
on
I was
too
gonna
long.
say in 2009 he's in Public Enemies, which I know is not a movie that everyone likes, but I will
So
say
I like the movie. Yeah,
I like that movie, and it's one
And we're
of the
never going
last
to talk about it
times-
again on the podcast. Right.
And it's one of the last times he's making an effort, some effort.
Yes.
I mean, famously, Michael Mann did walk up to him on set and said, like, "I know your problem. I figured it out. You can't act. You're a terrible actor." Do you know that story? That's a real story.
Yes.
And Johnny Depp was like, "I will not speak to this man again." And there was like 4 months of production left.
Yeah.
Which is sort of, I think Michael Mann's like one of those old NBA coaches who's like, well, you gotta, break him down and then build him back up,
Yeah.
right? And like Johnny Depp was like, why is this man saying I can't act?
There is that weird thing, though, like, there are so many incredibly successful actors, and not just people who are movie stars, but people who are taken seriously as actors, who on a fundamental technical level cannot really act, and somehow
Right,
they
sure,
work.
Sure. Like,
Right.
they don't have the sort of formal skills one might.
Right, and there's
associate
just some
with the
magic
job.
thing, and they have an understanding of that specific medium,
I can't wait
Like,
to
they
read
don't
you
know
the
how to
5 Golden
act,
Globe nominees. For
but
Best
they know
Actor in
how to,
Comedy.
like, get it in the camera, and they know how to work around editing and all that sort of stuff. There are also tons of people I've worked with where it's just like, you're a really good actor, and then you watch the footage and you're like, this does not translate at all.
Right.
Like, there's
Sure.
great actors who cannot make it work on camera.
On camera.
on
right.
the other hand, if Michael Mann told me I was a bad actor, someone who doesn't even try to act, would throw myself into a river.
I
You
would.
would.
Like, yeah,
You
it's-
would.
I would just be like, yes, sir. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
But Johnny Depp's a guy with no formal training. He was a rocker. And Nicolas Cage was like, you should do movies. They give you a lot of money. That's truly the
The
story.
80s, baby.
Right. They were like LA, like rock club brats.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, honestly, you're good looking. They'll probably give you $1 million.
Johnny Depp was like, how much wine could I buy with $1 million?
Right. Then he became like a teen heartthrob. He hated being
yeah.
a teen heartthrob, and he defined himself by making weird choices, right? And the Tim Burton films were seen as somewhat of a high point for those. But up until this point, it was like he makes weird choices, but they always seem correct. He's always in line with the movie. And this is the movie where the Tim Burton, Johnny Depp weirdness becomes like gold member, where it's like, I don't know what the angle is.
Right.
here.
And also, it's sort of like, where does this where do you begin and it ends? Like,
Right.
are you a person even? Like,
We have already recorded Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at this point. Whether or not you like that movie, I think he's making like coherent
That's a
choices in that
performance.
performance.
I think he was good in that movie.
I think so too, right?
he's kind of like amazingly funny. Well, we'll talk
We'll
about
have litigated it at that point, right? I know some people don't like it, and a lot of that is just, oh, it's disrespectful, it's crazy, he's creepy, but I think he's funny and it's weird, and the character makes sense internally. Like, it
right.
tracks.
It may not be your Willy Wonka or your image of Willy Wonka.
It's in
but
sync with the movie, and there's
we
a
talked
consistent
about it. We talked
psychology.
about it.
Right. This, you're just like, this actually feels like the supermarket sweeps challenge where they're like, okay, you have 2 minutes to raid this prop closet and come up with affectations.
My girlfriend kept just being like, why does he look like that? Like,
Right.
what does it mean? And I was sort of like, well, he's like a Mad Hatter.
Right, but he's literally
I
like
don't
2
know.
minutes, like pulling the eyelashes off
Right.
the wall, taking a card that says Scottish brogue. They sort of play it like he's got borderline personality disorder because sometimes he kind of becomes violent.
Yeah, this is a real realistic movie in that regard. I
I heard a
thought.
lot of like, there's like a contest where you got to make a short film in 24 hours. Or
Yes.
like, put on
Right.
a play in 24 hours.
Right.
It
About
feels
Sprite.
like that as a performance.
I think you're giving him too much credit to say he had 24 hours to come up with this.
Yeah, 24
performance.
minutes.
Right.
All right. The 5 nominees for Best Actor.
Hubbard
in an
Scissor Cast,
emotion-
the film is Alice in Wonderland.
Correct. The 5 nominees. Can you tell me? You can
Okay.
tell me 2 of the nominees.
2010.
It's 2010. So the
It's 2010.
Yeah,
So we're
go
talking Black Swan.
Think about it, man.
We're talking Inception. I'm trying to think of the films of that year.
Here's a hint I'm going to give you. Now you've got
is King's Speech? Is this the King's Speech year?
yeah, but that's in drama.
Right. No, but I'm just trying to give myself the year of film.
But just to give you a couple hints, and these are not big hints. 1, you know 2 of the nominees, 2 of the 5.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp for Alice in Wonderland, and Johnny Depp for The Tourist.
2 performances we're still laughing at today.
That's what's so crazy to think about. The Green Book won Best Comedy.
Yes.
Comedy.
Yes.
Anyway.
Although, when you talk to old people who love Green Book, that's their note. They go, "It's so funny."
Yeah.
I mean, when
Truly.
I saw it in a theater, it was like laugh a minute. I will say, like, not for me so much, but like,
it feels weird to classify it that way. But when people defend that movie,
that's Italian for pretty good is a great laugh line. There is some laugh lines.
There's
in
some
Green
laugh
Book.
lines.
Anyway,
okay.
I will just warn you: the 3 other movies, 2 of them basically were not released. The third one was released and was a flop.
Okay, so
don't cast around thinking of like the big movies of 2010.
2 of them are like equivalent to like The Lesser Seeker.
Exactly.
Do you remember when Helen Mirren got nominated for Best Actress 8 months before the movie was released in theaters?
For Leisure Seeking?
Yeah. Okay, I have a guess. Is Ewan McGregor and Salmon Fish in
Incorrect.
Yemen? Incorrect?
No. I think that's like the year before or something. You know, it's somewhere.
What
in
is
there.
it? That type of zone? Or
One
do
of
they
them,
exist
one
even
of them
less than
I
that?
really thought this movie went unreleased. The winner, I know this movie was released, and in fact, we were just talking about it.
Barney's version. Paul Giamatti wins Best Actor for Barney's version.
Correct. And it was one of those things when he won, when people were like, "What's this movie?" And it was so like, I guess he has to win of these 5. It's the only one that people even agreed was a good performance.
I remember it being that way, but that was one of those things where Sony was like, "We're going to do a quick qualifying release, and then we'll release it wide later," and then they never released it wide later.
What's Barney's version about?
Well, he's Jewish, and his stomach hurts, and he sleeps with all these ladies.
No, don't ask David. You want to get Barney's version of the story.
Barney, get in here.
I think that's literally, it's by like the Canadian Philip Roth.
Okay.
Yeah, Mordecai Rickler, I think.
Right, and he's like, an angsty, like neurotic Jew writer about like the perils of masculinity. And it's a story about like how many times he loved and lost. It's a movie about, if you always went like, I don't see Paul Giamatti dating enough beautiful women on screen. Barney's version is like, we can give you like 12 in one movie.
Okay.
It's like Rosamund Pike. Is Rachel Weisz in it? Who else is in it?
I don't fucking know.
It's got a good cast of actresses.
So he used up his quota on that movie.
He did.
Yeah, okay.
He did.
All right.
It's like Paul Giamatti doing his version of an Adam Sandler movie.
You got Minnie Driver. David Cronenberg's in it. I can't go through this cast. All right. 2 others.
Okay.
I got you have.
And do they exist more or less than Barney's version?
One exists more, one less.
One exists more. Was one actually released wide?
Yeah, it was released wide. I saw it in theaters. It's a piece of shit.
It's a piece of shit, but did we laugh? David, did we laugh? As a nation,
Calling
did we
this
laugh?
movie a comedy is somewhat outrageous. I guess it's a romantic comedy, sort of. It was a prestige play in a way. It's from a prestige director, but like a bad one. He's a hot young star.
Wait.
There's a lot of sex in this movie.
Does it even exist? I don't think it exists.
No.
Is it Jake Gyllenhaal, Love and Other Drugs?
Jake Gyllenhaal and all that.
And then I have a guess about the other one. I might be totally off, but if I'm right, this is a good poll. Dustin Hoffman, Good Luck Charlie?
No. Although, oh my God.
Right?
The other person has been fully canceled. One of the most canceled men in Hollywood.
One of the most.
I would say.
Top of the heap.
Yeah.
Brett Ratner? For Tower Heist?
Actor.
Right.
Actor.
So once again, I'm going to restate Brett Ratner for Tower
It's
Heist.
gotta be Spacey, right?
Spacey.
Spacey
What
was
the
in a
fuck was he
comedy?
in? This is not
Jeez.
Beyond the Sea here. That's
Not Nine
Not
Lives?
Beyond the Sea, not 9 Lives. I mean, really, I don't think this was released. It has one of those posters where you're like, oh, someone made this at home?
And he's the lead.
Let me give you the other 4 actors above the title on this poster.
Okay.
Barry Pepper, Kelly Preston, John Lovitz, Rochelle Lefevre.
Wow. Okay. This is Casino Jack.
There it is.
It's about Jack Abramoff, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And the final film of George Hickenlooper.
But like, I don't think that movie was really released.
I don't think so either.
I'm sure it had like a limited release.
You know who did a lot of press for that movie?
Hit me.
John Lovitz.
Okay.
He was ready for it to be his Albert Brooks and Drive.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I love how we both knew exactly
Yes.
what movie we were thinking of. It made $1.0 million at the box office, though,
Wow.
which is less than its $12 million budget, I will admit. It also made a grand total of $40,000 overseas.
Hey,
Wow. People overseas.
Anyway.
that's one of those final
Just
indignity
one of the
movies.
wildest indictments of the Golden Globes is comedy category, where people are always like, no, it's good that they have a comedy category because it's good to recognize comedies. And I'm like, oh yeah, all those comedies they recognize.
Ho, chuckle, chuckle, chuckle.
I seem to remember the early 2010s were really bad for them being able to find movies that were actually good to put in the comedy category.
Sure, right.
Like, I don't know. They kind of overlooked a lot of the Apatows. They overlooked a lot of other stuff that like was actually funny. but-
When American theatrical comedy was still robust, they were choosing to nominate like, oh, we're going to pretend that like Helen Mirren and Hitchcock is a comedy.
Sure. Yeah, I bet you if I just took a comedy category from like any year, we could probably like rip on it for 5 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how the Globes
Okay,
are.
save one in the chamber for later in the episode.
Oh, sure. Fine. All right. So, Alice in Wonderland. Last Chance Harvey was the year before, by the way.
Oh, I said good luck,
You were
Harvey.
close. Yeah, right. That's
Right.
what it's called.
Yeah.
I mean, it's called
Last Chance Harvey is
Yeah.
the right one. Yeah, okay. Ding dong.
Oh, into the door, please.
Ding dong. Oh, no. Craig?
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Even he's worried.
I don't know how we're going to fit you in here. Uh-huh.
A lot of physical acting going on. Right
Yes, a movie.
now. Oh, who are you, sir?
The great movie app.
Oh, it's Orson Welles.
Mhm.
I figured it out. Oh, he's here.
Orson, that's a cup. Oh, okay, he's eating a mug.
Wow, it's gone.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by movie a curated service showing exceptional films from around the globe.
I'm sorry, Orson Welles, have you been bitten by a Dracula?
Every day, movie premieres a new film, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, movie, you know, they've got timeless classics, they got cult favorites, they got acclaimed masterpieces, but here's what else they got. This is what they got that no one else has got, Orson.
What, the movie you've been dying to see or one you've never heard of before?
You are literally just Dracula.
Where's my blood?
Paul Masson, blood flavor.
Don't even joke about that.
No, a movie has a 30-day window so that every day a new movie's added. Every day a movie goes away. So you got to watch these things. If you want to catch some classic auteur-driven art, or maybe some like cool documentaries, or maybe even some like new and exciting indie films, you're gonna have to do it in the next month.
What about blood?
I mean, let's see.
Fresh new blood in the indie filmmaking scene.
Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. It's got that. It's got a lot of new blood. You know. What have we got right now? We got Reality, that insane French movie from 5 years ago. Remember that, Quentin Dupieux?
Mm-hmm.
You seem real excited about it. You've got King Vidor's Our Daily Bread. That's like a classic 30s social drama.
Nosferatu Wells.
Okay.
Norse and
Right, you're just all in on this now.
Wells. I'm trying to rebrand.
So you got Catherine Breillat's got a couple movies on movie right now. Anatomy of Hell, Texas Comedy. Maybe that's up your alley.
Hey, what would this guy's sled be called Rose Blood?
Yes,
That's very good. That's very good.
Blah, blah, blah.
All right, Vampire Orson. You can try Movie Free for 30 days at movie.com/check. That's MUBI.com/check. And you'll get a whole month of great cinema for free.
I got to say to you guys, I'm very happy that you chose to record that night so I was able to squish my way out of my home and into your studio.
You do move in a sort of a squishing motion.
Right,
yes.
but I can only go out at night, of course, because I am Norse Veratu Finn Wells.
All right.
Wait a second.
Squish on out of here.
Is that a full moon outside your window?
That's right.
Oh, I'm Wolf Orson Welles.
David, do you notice the moon is sweating?
It's a tease for the next ad read.
I can't wait. I can't wait for you to return. That's amazing.
Squish,
Alice in Wonderland. Guys, what I was thinking about, and I wanted to say this on mic, is this is 2010.
Yep.
In 2011, you've got Thor and Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like there's a real divide between like what Hollywood's cooking up there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Well, here's the other thing.
I know this is the start of the remake, the Disney remake
Except
trend.
it isn't.
No,
That's what's fascinating
not
about
really.
this movie.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that is thoroughly fascinating about this movie culturally. The second thing I would say is this is one of the few movies in history where it's like its success is largely attributable to another movie.
Yeah.
Which is this comes out 4 months after Avatar,
right.
and they just really sold it's in 3D and it's a world you've never seen
That's
before.
why I saw it. I was like, I can't wait to join Wonderland through
Right.
the power of my real D glasses.
And it was
at BAM.
post-converted.
Of course.
Poorly.
Looks like shit.
It looks
Gross.
like shit.
It's the ugliest movie ever made. This is my opinion. Not one frame of this movie looks good, except the real world stuff
I was
looks
gonna say.
fine. Like, that's fine.
So
Before she's in Wonderland.
here's a take I feel like you guys could drag me for. I like all the real world stuff in this movie.
No, I agree with you.
I'm totally locked into the first 20 minutes of this film.
10. It's not that long.
Really? Fuck. I want to pretend it was longer.
It's not. It's 10 minutes.
I'm like,
First 10 minutes are fine.
this is kind of interesting seeing Tim Burton do a British period drama.
First 10 minutes, Mia Wasikowska has stuff to do.
She's really good in the first 10 minutes.
It's shot very flatly.
It's a little
There's
flat.
a couple interest, like the shot of all the people looking
That's
at her
the shot
is
I
a
like.
nice
That's the good
shot.
shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the rest of it's like very boring reaction shots.
But I think there's some good character development there. I like, you go,
All right, now you're revving it too high. It's
I'm
just
gonna rev
fine.
it a little bit.
No. Rev down. no.
here's the thing I like about it, okay?
Keep that in double it, Ben.
Yeah.
We've talked about how Tim Burton gets into an interesting place where it's like, man, maybe the guy has made every personal movie he could make. Like, maybe he
Right.
said everything on the subject.
And was another thing where Hollywood was just like, make another thing, anything you want. And he's
Right.
like, okay. And then there came some point, right, where he was like, I'm out.
I'm out.
And they were like, okay, Alice in Wonderland then? Like,
Well, and then the other thing is he becomes so successful that it's like he can't really make outsider movies in the same kind of way.
well, he's trying, though, with this.
Right, but I'm saying whereas like something like Edward Scissorhands, you're like, this is palpable. This is a guy still recovering from feeling completely removed from society.
Sure.
Now you're like, I don't know, he can't really like make it sing anymore. But what he's getting at in the first 10 minutes of this movie, I was like, this is a way that Tim Burton could evolve, is just making movies about like weird societal structures.
Mhm.
Like, you know, like, England manners, like this is a kind of world that like he can come at with a similar kind of confusion and a satirical edge without him
Yeah.
having to make a movie that's about like a little scissor boy.
Right.
And I was like into it. And then it's literally the moment she falls down the hole.
Into shitland.
Right. I'm like, why
Right.
do I now hate this movie suddenly and dramatically?
It's the color of dirty dishwater. Literally.
Right.
It's in
It's a brown.
glorious 3D.
There's also this weird thing where like if like you don't know how to make a shot look good, especially in like TV or something, they're like, let's add some Atmos, which is they just run a bunch of smoke on set
Right.
because it at least adds a little texture. And this movie does the CGI version of that.
Right.
There's CGI
And it just
Atmos.
looks like distance fog. Like,
Right.
it just looks like shitty effects.
But I think they were just like, this just looks like Candyland in hell.
Look
And they
at-
were like, add some Atmos.
What the fuck?
Make it tactile.
Do it right.
Yeah,
Well, because this is, like, this movie cost $200 million.
correct.
And it's kind of all there on the screen in that I'm sure this was expensive to make. Like, it's not like you're looking at this and it's not how do you know? I understand they had to render a whole world here.
But
where is the talent?
Yes, the special effects supervisors who worked on this movie said like far and away the most difficult job we've ever done.
Right.
And I think part of that was like everyone got cocky when like people were starting to do this like
These
digital backlot
Avatar,
movies.
these doing, these green screen movies, totally.
Right. And it's like Robert Rodriguez like kind of figured out how to do it himself and was also doing all of it himself.
Right, and he's a maniac, and he works like too hard, and he writes
Right.
and cuts and edits and produces and everything.
And he was
you know.
working off a comic where he could copy specific panels
Right.
and all this shit. And like
Also,
Cameron
the world
is
of Sin City is very simple.
Right,
It's like
exactly.
rooms. Yeah.
Cameron is like Cameron.
Sure.
And I think everyone's like, Tim Burton's creative. He could do something like this. And you watch this movie and it's like, people still fucking drag us for being like, and on top of it all, the two of them like Avatar. Watch this movie and
Right.
try to not like Avatar.
Yeah. Go watch Avatar.
No, you don't even have to
No.
rewatch Avatar.
Yeah, you do.
I'm saying watch Alice in Wonderland the whole time. You'll be like, you're right. Avatar is like an 8
you
out of
have to
10,
go watch
right?
it now.
Drag you for liking Avatar?
Oh, yeah. All the
so
time.
hard.
Avatar's a good movie.
They act like it's our favorite movie of all time.
Sure.
Well, I mean, it is your favorite movie of
It
all
is my
time.
favorite
Of course, it's our
David
favorite movie
texts
of
me
all
every
time.
morning.
Avatar.
Avatar is my favorite movie.
Avatar's good.
I text you every morning, just da-na-na-na.
That's what he texts me.
I send you a voice memo of myself going, da-na-na-na.
Boy, oh boy.
I wonder why you blocked my number. Yes, this is one of those movies where, like, they said, like, why would we shoot it in 3D? It's, like, cumbersome.
Yeah,
and James
we can
Cameron
do that later, right?
openly was like, that is incredibly dumb.
Right. And to this day, you've got Alita coming out, shot in 3D.
Looks
the
so
rare
good.
movie that's shot in 3D. And look, what surprise, the 3D is good.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie killed 3D in a way.
It both, like...
Obviously, 3D's still around.
Yeah.
But a lot of people paid for the 3D and were like, what the fuck? That sucked. I'm not paying $5.
Does Clash of the Titans come out a month after this?
Clash of the Titans came out before this, I think.
Really?
Well, I can look it up. I'll look
Okay.
it up.
I think this is definitely a bloom off the rose moment where people went like, oh, this, like, that was a 1 in a million thing, the Avatar thing. Like, people are just going to be sloppy about this. But also, the insane thing is, like, Linda Wolverton, who wrote or had writing credits on most of the Disney Renaissance movies, right? Which are sort of very tight in their plot.
You're right. Clash of the Titans is the next month.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That was another one.
I feel like
people
that's the
felt
final,
duped.
right?
Yeah.
Where people were like, it's literally like the arm and the head are in like different dimensions.
And the problem with most of these movies is the post-conversion process makes them dark. So then, like, most theaters in America under-project their movies. So you're just walking into a situation where everything looks like it's in silhouette or something.
And also, the post-conversion process is essentially handing special effects people a live-action film that is locked and saying, can you animate a movie under this?
Right.
Like, they then have to create three-dimensional CGI models to wrap the image around. And more, they, like, don't understand what that pipeline is.
Yeah.
And they were like, we can just shoot any footage and hand it to you and you'll turn it into 3D. And they're like, yeah, but it'll look like the feature on, like, 2009 era televisions where you hit the 3D button. And it's like Larry King's eyes are popping out of his head.
It's like a 3DS.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's like a 3DS, essentially. Yes.
All right. Linda Wolverton, she wrote the Beauty and the Beast screen.
Which are, like, these are, like, tight movies. Like, she
yes.
took these, like, big...
She wrote the Lion King screenplay.
Right.
She wrote a little film called Alice in Wonderland, a 2010 film by Tim Burton.
Right, but she's on, like, the story team for all these Disney
She's on the
Renaissance
story
movies.
team for Aladdin and Mulan.
Right.
She also wrote the Maleficent screenplay.
Yes.
She also wrote the screenplay for a film that, and I'm saying this on the air right now, is better than Alice in Wonderland. And that film is called Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Oh,
I'm team Through the Looking Glass.
I
It's
agree.
better.
I
mean, it's
agree.
only better in that this is the worst movie.
yeah, it's a little better.
It's a little better.
It's a little better. I agree with that.
It has, weirdly, it sort of like has a narrative. Like
Yes.
it's a sort of a stupid narrative, but at least it has like sort of like, there's sort of a task to accomplish.
It's
like,
pondering
yes.
the age-old philosophical question, should you kill baby Hitler? Which is like,
it's that,
yeah.
right? And, you know, I mean, like,
Sacha Baron Cohen's fun in it.
he's fun. He plays the concept of time as a person.
It has like 20% practical sets, which that improvement.
And it's also just made 6 years later, so just like, you know,
Yes.
the money, I don't know, can be spent better. It looks a little
But
cleaner.
what is so crazy is this movie is so sold on the visuals, the wonder, the 3D. It's Tim Burton. His imagination's unfettered. It's a full 3D, you know, Tim Burton CGI Fantasia.
And we were still at the tail end of people being like, Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland is going to be twisted. Like, genuinely.
Yes.
Like, when this came out,
People were like,
the Hatter poster.
Right. All the posters look like
people were
bad.
like, wow, he looks like a demon. Like, whoa, he's going to spook kids with this shit.
I mean, this is his highest grossing film
I'm sure.
by a good margin.
This feels like the first movie where Tim Burton realized he could get residuals from Hot Topic if he tried hard enough.
Well, I was going to say, so here's
I think if you adjust, Batman would beat this movie, but that's it.
adjusted, yes. But talk about like cultural things with this movie, right? Okay, so like the rise and fall, like the high point and the low point simultaneously of 3D filmmaking, right? But the other thing is, I think this is this weird threshold moment where Disney starts to become cool.
Mm-hmm.
Disney had always been like nerdy or childish.
Yeah, you're right. The sort
And
of
there's
Kingdom Hearts moment where
the
like
Hot
Disney is a
Topic,
brand.
Right. It's like you can buy like an edgy Lion King shirt now.
Whereas like Disney's brand throughout my childhood was more like,
Babies.
well, and it was also like, parents know that they can trust Disney
Right.
to entertain their child without being too fucking weird
Right.
or political. It's going to be just a Disney movie, and you're going to buy the white clamshell VHS.
Exactly.
Right. Before, yeah.
And then when you like got old, you were like, I don't want those fucking sanitized, the Disney-fied versions of things.
Sure.
Like that's the Gen X, like you get old and then you go like, man, Disney, they whitewash everything. And do you know he was a Nazi?
Sure.
And I feel like this generation that's cusping right with Alice in Wonderland are like, wait, we can just buy ironic Disney shirts? Like we can still like Disney but seem above it because we're like re-owning it in a postmodern way.
Right.
Except those shirts are still manufactured by Disney.
Yeah.
And Disney's coffers like start doubling in these years.
Yeah.
This is when they're also like buying every brand in sight. Because
Right.
is this when they buy Marvel?
They buy Marvel, I think,
Yeah.
maybe the year after.
Okay,
Like, you know,
all right.
because we've talked about it.
Right.
Like,
Star Wars is 2012.
they buy Star Wars in 2012.
I think they buy Marvel this year. I think they buy it 2010. Because I work at the Disney store in 2011 and they've had Marvel for a year.
Yeah,
in
did you have
fact, they bought it in 2009.
Did you
So
have
there
to
you go.
dress as Johnny Depp's Mad Hatter while you worked at the Disney store?
No, because the bloom's off the rose a little bit.
Okay,
I
all right.
think they were moving on to, they're so topical there. But I'll tell you, like when I worked,
What was the hot shit then?
what was the hot shit then? Cars 2. Cars 2 fever.
Mm.
You
Is
have
that
no
a fever?
idea.
It was more of a low. sort of-
Kids could
like
not
a
stop
cold.
talking about Sidley the spy jet.
Excuse me?
Sidley the spy jet?
Are you having a stroke?
They still haven't stopped talking about it. Jason Isaacs playing the role of Sidley the spy
What
jet.
if there's like one kid who just still has not stopped talking about the fucking spy jet?
Sidley? Do you know there's a moment in Cars 2 where they're having a car chase in an airport and Sidley gets on the runway and he goes, climb inside me.
No, I didn't
And
know
his
that.
ramp comes down and the cars drive inside his butt. And then there's a scene that takes place inside Sidley. He then becomes a location.
He's a plane.
Did you
Yeah.
know this?
I wasn't aware.
But he's like living and they're just like,
I want to imagine you as like a senator who's like, are the good people of Missouri aware that there is a scene in Cars 2 where Sidley, I'm reading from the record here, Sidley the space jet.
it says Sidley the spy jet
Spy
is
jet.
both a character and a location. Is that right, Senator?
Just try to break this down.
So this is also
okay.
when Disney loses its old reputation and gains a reputation for weird, perverted shit going on in all its movies.
Is that right?
Right.
Yeah,
And they're
because
try-
of the spy jet.
Right. Yes.
That was the same guy who made like put a penis in Little Mermaid or whatever.
Right,
He
right.
came back for Sidley the spy jet, and they were like, "Alan,
Sex in the Clouds and
What is
Lion
this?
King. What if it turned out that those were Linda Wolverton's contributions? She
Right,
was just
she's
like,
like-
can you make one of the spires of King Triton's castle look like a peen? No, but I remember like at this time, Disney was in this like rebuilding stage, right? They're buying out all these properties.
Right.
They've been taking these big swings of like, we're not popular with boys.
sure."
So it's like, let's make a $200 million Tron movie. Can Alice in Wonderland kind of be a tweener because we really centralize the Mad Hatter
Yeah, we
and boys
go
like
hard on
Johnny Depp?
right?
Pirates is their one boy franchise. Of course, their solution to this ends up being just buy Star Wars and Marvel. But at this point, they're trying to make in-house big boy franchises. And what's weird about this movie is it's never positioned as this is Tim Burton doing a new version of Disney's Alice in Wonderland. This movie has no relation to Disney's Alice in Wonderland. This movie is a weird sequel to an Alice in Wonderland that was never made.
It has sort of winks at Disney's Alice in Wonderland, little wink.
When
But,
they
like-
do the flashback, the girl is wearing a very similar outfit.
She's
those are,
wearing
like,
the
Easter
brighter
eggs.
blue dress, and
Sure.
she is, of course, a child rather than a 20-year-old.
But
yeah.
none of the designs really match the Disney characters. It doesn't have any of the songs or music.
No.
It's an entirely different plot.
Right, you're saying it's not like The Jungle Book or something where it's like trying to hew pretty closely to the plot of the Disney animated movie, The Jungle Book.
That's
Like,
the other weird thing. Because you go like, Disney animation is starting to get back up on its feet at this point, right? Like Tangled had come out the year before.
No, the same year, isn't
Oh,
it?
it's 2010?
Let me
I think
look
you're
it up.
right.
Yeah, 2010. Here are
Right.
Disney's 2010 movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, their big hit is Toy Story 3.
Right.
TS3. as we call
TS12.
it.
Yeah.
And then Alice.
Mhm.
They also had Tangled.
Right.
They also had Tron Legacy.
Right.
Those were their only hits.
Yeah. See,
They
this
had
is a
two
weird turning
giant
point
flops.
here. Yeah.
The Prince of Persia movie
Right. Humongous flop. We're trying to get boys.
and The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Gigantic flop trying to get boys.
They also released some movies like Secretariat and When in Rome, You Again. These are Disney movies.
When I was
Now Disney
Yes.
is basically like, every movie, Captain America's in it, every
Right.
single one.
Wait, Secretarian, the BoJack movie?
Yeah, there's the BoJack movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize that was real.
Old
Yes.
Dogs. I didn't realize Old Dogs was Disney.
Oh, yes, it is. Because he had made Wild Hogs, which was Disney. I think at that point it was Touchstone, and by this point,
Todd's the one with the Wild Hogs story.
Yep.
That's the one where your dad was like, "We're seeing that movie."
Yeah, exactly. That was like right down the middle to my dad. We went and saw it.
What do you think?
He loved it. Wild Hogs,
surprised.
Down Periscope, Gail Vanderwerf's favorite movies.
Are those his 1 and 2?
Periscope.
Loves those movies.
That dirty submarine movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
That movie's good.
Is that Kelsey Grammer?
That should be a bench
Kelsey
choice.
Grammer.
Oh
That's
yeah,
it.
I love that movie.
I always get Down Periscope.
I just remember
and
it has like a lot of
McHale's
dick
Navy.
jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, McHale's Navy is
Tom Arnold?
Tom Arnold.
Which
right?
one is Roberto Schneider in? Is he in McHale or Down Periscope?
You talking about Rob Schneider?
Senior Roberto.
I believe
You mean
he's
upside
in-
down exclamation point Rob?
I
Exclamation
believe
point.
he's in McHale's. Down Periscope is obviously one of those movies they made for $5 million back when you were trying to see if a TV star could carry a
Excuse me.
movie.
I hate to tell you this, but the budget of Down Periscope was $31 million.
Todd,
It does have Rob
please
Schneider.
eat this crow pie.
It has Lauren Holly.
Wow.
Apparently, Harry Dean Stanton and Rip Torn and Bruce Dern and William H. Macy. This thing's loaded with character actors.
How many-
What's this, the USS character actor?
Can you quickly run down how many Academy Award nominations the cast of...
Well, Schneider is 14.
Right.
No, because like
Macy has 1, Torn has 1.
Torn only has 1, right? Does
Right.
Dern have 2? Maybe 1?
I think he has 2.
I think Dern has to, yeah.
God, I love
Supporting
I
for
love
Coming
Bruce
Home,
Dern.
lead for Nebraska,
Is that it?
I think.
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
Wow.
Kelsey Grammer, I don't know. How many's he got?
Oh, well, they nominated him for Beast. Hank McCoy.
Right.
The
Best
Beast.
Best Beast in a supporting role.
Best Beast in a supporting role.
My father doesn't trust fiction. He thinks it's all based on lies, which technically it is.
Uh-huh.
But Down Periscope and Wild Hogs, like, yep.
So what he likes is the verisimilitude of those two.
Yeah, exactly.
He thinks those are the only 2 American films to tell it like it
Periscopes
is.
do go down.
They do.
You got to bring them down sometimes.
And look, and those hogs are wild.
True.
You got to admit, David, you got to admit.
Two Macy's. Your dad is a Macy fan,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Is Bill Macy his favorite star?
It might be. I always thought it was Tim Allen because he loved, he loved on Home Improvement when you go, rah,
Yeah.
rah, rah, rah. But
Another
maybe
truth
it's Bill
teller.
Macy. Yeah.
Tim Allen really was. He had the courage to tell the truth when the rest of us didn't.
Is that thing still on? Your favorite show? The one with
Last
the
Man
girl
Standing?
puts on the
yes, it
Garfield
is.
head.
They've
Yeah.
replaced 2 of his daughters now, so it's about a white man who doesn't realize his daughters are changing into different people
Do you know
underneath
that
his nose.
Caitlin Deaver was one of the daughters
Of course
on
I
that
know
show?
that. Are you
And was
kidding
still
me?
She
on
still
it like
is.
5 seasons. She's the
She's-
one who's still there?
She's the one. She's off to college now, so she comes in every 5
Okay.
episodes and is like, "Dad,"
But
and then
the
she goes
other
away.
2 left?
The other 2 left.
Did you know that there is a federal law that any film set in the Appalachian Mountains has to have Caitlin Deaver in it? Did you know that? I saw his movie at Sundance where I was like, "Where is she? Where is she?" And then 10
She's-
minutes in, I was like, "Here she is."
She's
I
such
knew
a
it.
good actor.
I love her.
Yeah.
I love her. Yep. Caitlin Deaver. It's just like, does your movie have moonshine and or like snake handling in it? Caitlin Deaver is involved.
He now has a Chinese exchange student living with him.
Oh, boy.
That's now part
bet
of the
he has
premise of
nothing to
Last
say
Man
about
Standing.
that,
Hey,
though.
oh, you know what? He doesn't.
He's real quiet.
He's very he keeps it to himself.
Respectful. Does he
Yeah.
say things like, "Tell me more about your culture"?
He really does. He's respectful and quiet, and then he just he vlogs later. Is like, I learned so many fascinating things about China.
Wait, he
today.
vlogs? Is vlogging part of
part
Last
of the
Man-
premise of the show is that he vlogs, David. Now he's made me mad.
It's like a Sex in the City with vlogging.
yeah.
Is he vlogging like, "Hey, this is the last man standing with my daily report"? Like, is it like he's in an apocalyptic movie?
No, he has like access to like visual effects and like Avid and all this stuff. It's like he once did a thing where he was in
He's
a
a Renaissance
CGI
man.
car driving and ran into an iceberg. It's great.
What? But are
The only thing I remember is the episode where the girl wears the Garfield head. Is that
That's-
Dever?
That's the first. That's
The
Molly
oldest daughter?
Ephraim, who was the first Mandy. Yeah.
Have you seen every episode?
No, I haven't seen every episode.
Okay,
I've
pretty
seen most of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last man standing.
It's not a good show, but it's an interesting show.
Sure.
Is this season 6 now?
7. Yeah. And they're probably going to run 2-3 more.
Right. Yeah. Because now it's
Why
like
not?
it's bumping.
Sure.
Yeah.
Elizondo's in it, earning that check.
Nancy Travis.
Hector.
Love Nancy Travis.
God, Hector. Yeah. I mean, in a post Gary Marshall world, I think Hector needs that thing to run for another 7, right?
Shit. Maybe he should just start making the movies. Elizondo should make Arbor Day or whatever.
It's Hector Day.
That's it.
My new movie, Hector Day.
Every part played by me using computers. I'm the FedEx line in Runaway Bride. where he's like, remember she gets on a FedEx truck and someone's like, where's she going? And Elizondo's like, I don't know, but she'll get there tomorrow by 11 or what, right? I've never seen a theater erupt more than at that line. That is the most killer line reading I've ever seen in my life.
Tomorrow.
I have to find out the exact line. Because
talk about a pro.
FedEx is the company in Castaway, right?
Yes.
They were like really good there in the late 90s
Yes.
at like doing product placement that you were like, okay, I buy it. It's great.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because the whole first act of Castaway is just sort of describing to you how like FedEx's like mail cargo system works,
and being like,
it's
they're
like Tom
employees.
Hanks with a clipboard.
You got Tom Hanks working the docks for them.
It won documentary short subject at the
It did.
Oscars. Yeah.
The first 30 minutes alone. I wish people would do
Zemeckis
that.
gets up there and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" In my head, he's so grumpy.
Zemeckis?
I interviewed him once and he was very grumpy. Not with me, just with like the movie industry.
You didn't interview him for Marwan.
I interviewed him for Allied.
A master.
And I was sort of like, talking to him about it, and he was just like, I just think Hollywood makes bad movies, and I just wanted to make like a war movie that's like an old-fashioned movie, and they just don't make those anymore.
It is fascinating how all those guys who were like the biggest blockbuster directors and got to make everything they
10:30.
wanted to make.
That's the time. Where's she going? I don't know, but she'll be there by 10:30 tomorrow.
That's gonna
Like the audience, literally, it was basically like they were like, pay this man anything. I'll do
good.
anything for Elizondo. Elizondo for president.
God, it also got funnier when it becomes 10:30 and not tomorrow. I mean, the specific really helps there.
Yeah.
What was it? I was saying something about Hector Elizondo. This is the Hector Elizondo podcast. I don't remember what I was going to say. But Disney.
Elizondo
All those guys with the blockbusters in there.
All those guys with, thank you, Tom, what a pro. All those guys with the blockbusters love to now complain about how the industry is terrible. Like James Cameron and George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and Zemeckis. All these guys who got to make every movie they wanted to make and were showered with like Oscars and billions are just like, this industry is terrible. Everyone's making movies for children.
Right. What are they doing remaking like comic book movies? Who ever thought of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get welcomed to Marwan?
Oh, of course.
We were cordially welcome.
Oh,
or
yeah.
formally welcome.
Movie with a lot of weird similarities to this one.
Yes, in that it's a nightmare.
I mean, yeah, that's the primary one.
Welcome to Marwan was basically like Robert Zemeckis had been listening to Blank Check, and we were sort of like, yeah, we might do Zemeckis. And he was like, you're doing it. Watch this. You see how expensive this thing is?
David's pointing to the wall.
Like he's like showing us. Excuse me. I convinced a major studio to let me make this. He has a foot fetish.
My point is, Disney is at the early stages. My point I was starting to make 20 minutes ago. Disney's at the early stages of being like, we're silos, we're franchises. Like, we don't want to make movies like Secretariats or Old Dogs anymore. Those
Every
two
Disney
movies were
movie is
like-
a fucking event. It's an atomic bomb. The
Right.
schedule clears to get out of the way. No one wants to deal with a Disney movie.
But what they weren't doing yet were exploiting their own IP in the same way. They're using like public domain stuff. They're buying other things. They're using like weird cult IP, but they're not touching the Disney classics because I think they seemed like we have to keep those behind glass. Disney Animation is finally starting to like get a little groove going on. Pixar is doing the first sequel that they were forced to do as part of the Disney buyout.
Toy Story 3?
Yes.
Right.
That was the first, like, okay, here you go, $5 billion. Now, of course, you're making Toy Story 3. Here are 6 other sequels we want, right?
Right.
But this is the start, like, it's after the Wall-E Ratatouille uprun.
Yeah.
And Toy Story 3 is like, now we're in sequel town.
Right.
Marvel, they haven't started flexing creative power on. Star Wars is still a couple years away.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, what do we buy into? Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. So they're like, we're doubling down on Johnny Depp. What does Johnny Depp want to do? Lone Ranger? We're doing Lone Ranger.
Ugh.
What does Tim Burton want to do? And the big thing was they announced in one
Tim
go.
Burton wanted to do Dark Shadows, I assume, right? Was that his blank? No, go ahead. What did they announce? Go on.
No, they announced in one go. They were like, we're bringing Tim Burton back into the Disney fold where he belongs. He's going to make 2 movies in Disney digital 3D. Do you remember when they would use that as a marketing point?
Yeah.
They were like,
they had
it's
their
not
own
just
proprietary
3D.
3D.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were like, he's going to make 2 Disney digital 3D movies. They announced this in 2008, so it's before Avatar when everyone's just rumbling about, man, Cameron's going to change the game.
What are they?
And it was, he's going to make a stop motion film, his favorite thing. They're going to bring stop motion back. Leica hasn't, hit at this point. And they're going to, or Leica, no, Coraline comes out the year before.
What did they announce?
Frankenweenie and Alice in Wonderland.
Right. Okay.
And it felt a little bit like he wants to make Frankenweenie.
Sure.
And Alice in Wonderland is them being like, here's a classic piece of like public domain. Do whatever you want with it.
Sure.
And his big announcement he makes is like, I always had a hard time relating to Alice in Wonderland because it felt like a series of events. It's just meeting a bunch of crazy people,
that's
weird
what it
little
is.
chapters.
It's a children's book.
And he said, I want to see if I could add an emotional spine to it. What is insane about this movie
Ben's mad.
is it literally feels like he went into it with the opposite intent. Where he was just like, I don't know, I just want stuff to happen.
That's certainly how the movie is.
Right, because it's just a random series of shit happening.
Well, he gives it the spine of the,
Vorpal sword and the Futterwack.
No. Just of the real world. She's escaping her married life, and it's a feminist quest to dethrone one landed aristocrat and replace her with a second landed aristocrat.
She's not just fighting the Jabberwocky, she's fighting the gender binary, David.
Yes,
But
right.
it is, doesn't it feel like...
Where's that again?
The beginning and the end feel like they're an entirely different film because once, like, she lands in Underland, one of the many dumb things this movie does where it's like, she was a kid, she misheard it, it's actually called Underland.
But, like, this is where Tim Burton's like, let's do 5% of, like, Jan Svankmajer and 5% of Hot Topic or what, right? Where it's like, let's make it a little weird.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say. And this is why I think Dick Cook, who's running Disney films at that point in time, goes all in on Tim Burton and is like, anything you want to make, just like, please come here. Is like, this is the point where like Hot Topic, Nightmare Before Christmas sales are becoming like $1 billion industry in and of themselves. Right. He's trying to make Disney a little cooler for teenagers. Tim Burton seems to be the key to that. And you have this movie that like starts like that, but I feel like aesthetically, design-wise, this movie does not really look like a Tim Burton movie.
No.
Which is odd because
did the production design?
Robert Stromberg, who then directs Maleficent. Ugh. Like, this becomes a blank check for him to direct a $200 million Linda Wolverton, revisionist, feminist, quote-unquote, Disney adaptation.
I kind of like Maleficent.
Yeah, Maleficent's way better than
I think Maleficent has a good script. I think it's poorly directed.
Sure. It's a little anonymously directed. But Maleficent has... There's Angelina making an effort.
She's doing a good job.
This has Depp. I mean, I don't know. He's making
sometimes
something.
He's Scottish,
making a poop.
Sometimes he's Scottish. Sometimes he's angry. Sometimes he's like a child. Sometimes he's pooping.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commentary on mental health.
No, Maleficent has like a
the gender binary and mental health came under siege from the Vorpal sword. And fucking Alice just cuts it all in half, and everything's great now.
I just think it's such a bizarre choice to go like, okay, the technology exists, 3D exists, we can make a live-action Alice in Wonderland like people have never seen before.
Sure.
First of all, the movie is 98% animated.
Sure.
That's our first take. Second of all, we're not going to make Alice in Wonderland. We're going to make a sequel to Alice in Wonderland in which she's appearing for the second time. Everyone tells her that she's wrong and she's not the same person. Sure. She suddenly forgets everything about when she was there for the first time, and then most of the events play out in the same order as the book.
I love that.
Sort of.
I love that.
Sort of.
So good.
But it's kind of like everyone having deja vu for a movie.
No, but then it does the second book for no good reason.
Which is so weird. Right.
Rather than end on the first book, it ends on the second book, the battle between the Red and White Queen. The first book is the Queen of Hearts.
Yes.
They get rid of the Queen of Hearts. They make the Red Queen the Queen of Hearts.
Right.
And instead they do the second book, and then they add a Jabberwocky.
Now,
I guess for like an ending.
Can I add some context here?
Yes, please.
Which is, in the early 2000s, I'm a big Wizard of Oz fan.
Okay.
I love Oz stuff. In the early 2000s, Tim Burton going to do a pilot called Lost in Oz, I think for the WB.
Sure.
And like somebody sent me the script online. I don't know if it's the real script, but from what I remember of reading it when I was 18, it's very similar to this.
Interesting.
It's a lot of these kids go to Oz, and like I think one of them is Dorothy's descendant, she finds out, and like they have to like work their way toward fighting with whoever's in charge. It's probably Mombi or somebody like that.
And a lot of like really unnecessary mythology.
Yeah, but it's also like it's a TV show pilot, so you accept a little bit of that.
Right.
And it's also like set in like kind of a weird, dark Underland type place. Like it really, I think this is he brought some of those ideas forward.
Yeah. This does kind of feel like the world's longest TV pilot.
Yes.
Because it just feels like it's introducing you to a bunch of shit.
It's definitely introducing you to shit. Like it introduces you to the White Queen. What do we know about the White Queen? Well, she's white.
Yes.
She's real white.
Really white. She's got
a lot of white going on. She holds her hands up by her shoulders.
It's a fun performance.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
No, it is not.
It is no, it is not. It's a bad performance. I love Anne Hathaway, but what the fuck?
She's making some kind of fucking choice.
She made one choice to hold her hands
and
right
that's
here.
Good.
I just want to test, because I want to believe, knowing the three of you, that we're all going to be in agreement here. I think there is one performance in this film that is thoroughly excellent.
I know who you're going to say, and I don't agree.
Who do you think I'm going to say?
Crispin Glover.
No.
Okay.
No, I think it's a bad performance.
I agree.
And I like him a lot.
No, the one good performance is Helena Bonham Carter.
I think she's pretty good.
She's good.
She'd be
I
my
agree.
pick.
She's
I
locked
think
in.
Wasikowska's doing a really good job, especially when you consider what she's up against.
She's fine, but she's lost the second she's in Wonderland. The movie just gives her nothing.
I
to
was
do.
like the reason
She's
I
just
went,
looking at shit.
the reason I went and saw this movie. All my doubts is I was a big
In
Mia
Treatment fan?
Wasikowska
Yeah.
fan,
right.
and I was like, I want to see her be the next.
I
great
loved her in
actress.
Treatment, and
Yes.
I was like, can't wait to see what she gets.
She also wasn't one of those people who was like on Hollywood shortlists. Like it was like she was like a critic's favorite
Yeah.
for a show that
trying
was
to think
like,
of like what she'd been
pretty
in.
culty.
Yeah,
And then suddenly Tim Burton cast her in this, and it felt like, oh, that's like a big anointment.
and since then she's run as far away from this kind of movie as she can,
And has
Outside of,
had an
Crimson
excellent
Peak.
career.
Except
Right.
for
Right.
Alice in the Looking Through the Looking
Right.
Glass.
Right. Which like you just have to imagine she couldn't turn down that paycheck.
And she's like great.
Well, I assume she was obliged.
She's
to,
actually
right?
much
Yeah.
better in Through the Looking Glass. She's
got a
great in
little
Crimson
more to
Peak.
do.
I agree.
She's
Well,
figured out how to act.
And also,
in this sort
she's
of
like she's the active like where it's like, what's going on? Well, the Mad Hatter's not feeling so good, which is
The Hatter's the matter. What you're saying is that the Hatter's the matter.
and she has to kind of like march around and sort
That
of
was
be
the
like.
tagline, Ben. The actual
Hatter's the matter.
tagline for the movie was the Hatter's
She also
the matter.
remember she has like weird sort of like multicolored pajamas
Yes.
because she just came back from China.
Yeah.
I think
Another film where I like
Shrug.
the first 10, 15 minutes of that movie the best.
I like the Sacha Baron Cohen stuff. The rest
yeah,
of it, I
yeah.
could sort of take or leave.
I think the stuff with her on the ship is fun.
I think the way Burton shoots Wasikowska, especially in Wonderland, is kind of creepy throughout.
She feels very fetishistic
Yep.
in how,
All the dress stuff. Now,
and I'll say
Alice
this.
in Wonderland is a fetishy book written by a
100%.
pervert.
Sure.
Like, so
Yes.
obviously it's in the text.
Yeah.
You don't need to summon it out of the text,
Right.
but it is in there.
But this movie is like, it's weirdly kinky in the places you don't want it to
Right.
be, and then it removes the kink from the places where it actually could have been interesting.
You guys have talked a lot about how Burton is not a particularly sexual.
She's a little afraid of sex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's- but
Right.
like
Certainly
when-
of depicting it on screen.
that scene when she's very large and there's like small men who come up to her, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's Tim Burton's thing.
Right,
So,
you're like,
a
this must
pale
be
woman
everything.
crushing him between her hands. Is
Right.
like, that's what he wants.
Right.
So
She is so pale in this movie. I know
I
she's
was
a
going to say,
pale
she's
woman.
a very pale person. This was the first time I'd ever seen her in a movie, and looking back at this now, I'm like,
You're telling me you didn't see Amelia?
fuck,
Apparently
is she
she's
young
in Amelia.
Okay.
I don't know.
Watching this now, having spent a decade watching excellent work from Mia Wasikowska, I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize it at the time because I didn't have a frame of reference. He actually made her more pale in this movie.
He did. Oh,
and
for
he
sure.
puts the dark makeup around her eyes.
Everyone's pale in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what he did to Anne Hathaway, but he like coated her in chalk.
And it's impossible to do these fucking movies where, like, here's an insane thing. The shooting schedule for this movie was apparently 30 days all in. They spent like
Jesus.
2 weeks shooting the live action
I guess that
stuff.
makes sense because like how much screen time does Johnny Depp actually have?
Not that much.
Like it's mostly just like a few monologues where he's like, "Oh, I'm Scottish now."
On one hand,
You know?
it's weird that the Mad Hatter is in this much of the movie because, like, the Mad Hatter, I feel like is a character that everyone remembers and likes, but he's not like an integral like.
He's in
part.
one scene. Why is
Right,
Raven
exactly.
Mecca writing there?
It's just the fucking Tea Party.
Yeah.
Like the Queen is like a
Comes
big
back
thing.
in the second book.
Right.
The Queen's a little more, but they've fucked with the Queens.
But when they announced this movie,
They're mashing the Queens up.
when they announced this movie, they were like, Tim Burton's going to make a big 3D Alice in Wonderland. People were like, oh, what, is Johnny Depp going to play the Mad Hatter? And I remember being like, that wouldn't make sense. It's like too small of a role for him. And then, of course, this movie becomes Johnny Depp above the title. His face is the poster. Alice in Wonderland. Watch me drink tea.
Yeah, and like the Alice character poster is her little
Yeah.
by the teacup.
Whereas, like, the Johnny Depp
Like,
poster
she's not
is,
even
like,
big.
his fucking face.
Yeah. And then you had the I remember when they dropped the Helena look.
Yeah.
You were kind of like, oh, that's fun. They're using CG to make her, to like warp her. And like, I haven't seen a
That
lot
is
like
one of the
this
things I
before.
like in this movie. And
Kinda cool.
you go like, I would like this movie more if he was shooting practically and augmenting with CGI.
For sure.
Because that effect still plays kind of fun.
I think it's great.
And it feels like the kind of loopiness you want out of a live action Alice in Wonderland movie where it's like, these are tangible,
She's white.
tactile things, but you've distorted the perspective of them. Yes, the White Queen.
There she is. There's the White Queen. Anne Hathaway, it's sort of a big moment for her too, right? She's sort of a big star at this point.
She's gotten
Yeah,
her first
I don't know.
Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
She's a proven box office thing.
Crispin Glover, though,
Yes.
he's also being CG augmented, right?
His
To sort of stretch him out.
So this is another example of just like them being like, that stuff's easy, right? it's not even that he's CGI augmented. His body is fully animated.
It's just fake.
It's
right.
not motion captured.
No, it's just like, but like, is it just to elongate him? Is that the
Correct.
idea?
And you go, what's the fucking
But he's
point
only
here?
a little elongated.
Correct.
So it's one of those things that the whole time he's on screen, you're like, what's up with him? Like, is there something up with him?
And you're also like, why does his head feel disconnected from his body? Because it's just insane. They shot him on live action sets. And then we're just like, cool, and let's erase his body and then hire animators to do whatever they want with his physical positions.
Kind of looks like the Fred Claus version of Slender Man.
He kind of does. He kind of does.
I think Fred Claus would have been a worthy addition to this movie, and I think it's time for us to talk about it.
It's weird that no one has revived the Fred Claus brand.
That's 20 minutes from now.
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
we'll get to that.
Okay. I'm going to actually set a timer.
Ding dong.
All right. Who's at the door?
Would you mind getting that?
I'll get the door.
I'm just so tired. My body is hurting me so much. Oh, it's the delivery.
Okay.
Bring that over here.
Yeah, I'm bringing it. Here you go.
Okay, let me take this out, and it's a new fresh body for me.
Oh.
Hello, Griffin. You see what I mean?
Oh yeah, you just pop your head off. And
it's like a
put it on
vacuum
there.
sealed.
Oh,
yeah.
It's got basically a sort of nice sized brown bag.
Right.
You unfold it.
Yeah.
And vacuum sealed inside there.
And you go, hello, fresh new body. Because
Bunch of Griff
I
ingredients.
have bad genes.
Sure.
And so much like, I don't know, a hermit crab. Covered in bleach.
Yeah,
much like a hermit crab. I have to swap bodies every once in a while. So this is my favorite delivery service, which is called Hello Fresh New Body.
Okay, well, that's horrifying and Cronenbergian, but can I tell you about HelloFresh?
Please do. I'm just going to transfer over to this new body while you're telling me about that.
That's fine. Okay, HelloFresh makes conquering the kitchen a reality. Ooh, this is truly, truly nightmarish. Conquering the kitchen is...
I would have expected him to look like that inside.
Yeah, of course. It helps make conquering the kitchen a reality with deliciously simple recipe. Does all the meal planning and all the shopping and all the prepping so you can focus on a healthier you and a happy family. You get fresh, pre-measured ingredients with easy-to-follow, 6-step, pictured recipe cards delivered right to your door each week in an insulated box like this one. All meals come together in 30 minutes max.
I think your head's uneven.
Oh, let me get that. Keep going, David.
They call for less than 2 pots and pans, and they require minimal cleanup. They've got family plan recipes if you've got a picky eating kid, maybe.
Oh, I do that. Why do you think that body went sour so quickly?
Right. They've got a veggie plan. They've got the classic plan. You can switch whenever your tastes change. They've got 20-minute meals. They got one-pot wonders.
There's a lot of blood coming out of your nose.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just get that.
I'll tell you what has no blood. It's HelloFresh. Recently, I was making, what did I get this week from HelloFresh? I got the green olive pasta puttanesca with a lemony arugula salad. Took 20 minutes to make.
That's awesome.
These cards, they come with the calories on them, 600 calories, you know what I mean, to tell you exactly what you're working with here.
And if you're, you're trying to diet, it's good to have a calorie count. Know what you're doing. Yeah.
Great for that stuff. What is this, a new med?
Hashtag Hot David 2019.
All right. HelloFresh. For $80 off your first month of HelloFresh, you can go to HelloFresh.com/check80 and enter check80. It's going to get you $80 off your first month of HelloFresh. If you go to HelloFresh.com/check80, code is check80.
Well, I'm just realizing, these
Wow,
bodies...
Griffin, you're looking buff.
Thank you. But the problem is my body is always go to seed so quickly.
Sure.
Because I don't eat well.
Right.
These bodies cost me a cool $2,000 per.
Well, but if you go to...
I swap every 6 months. What if I spend $80 at HelloFresh? I eat better. These bodies last longer.
It's basically like you're getting 8 free meals, or you're getting like $20 off your first 4 boxes.
Or like an extra 4 months in this mortal prison.
Exactly.
This flesh prison.
Well, you don't need to worry about that anymore. You can make, here's some other recipes. We got apricot, ginger, chicken.
Oh.
We got steak with shallot pan sauce. Yeah, got to do that one. We got a melty mozzarella chicken pomodoro bake.
I gotta
with
say,
crispy panko.
2 words I love are melty and crispy.
Oh, melty crispy.
Melty crispy. Melty crispy?
No, I'm not that.
Okay, fine. Go to HelloFresh.com/check80. The code is check80. It's going to get you $80 off of your order.
And that way you save money on new bodies.
New bodies.
New bodies.
Hey, new bodies.
Hey, new bodies.
All right.
So there's shit like that where you're just like, what's the point, right? It only makes the thing feel uncomfortable to have CGI, noodle body, Crispin Glover in a way that's so subtle that you can't even tell what they're gaining from doing it.
Whereas Helena Bonham Carter, you're like, I get it.
I get
and
it.
This is worth the money, and it looks kind of cool.
Right.
So it's sort of like you see the good and the bad.
They do it, it's less effective, but they do that to make Johnny Depp's eyes bigger in this movie.
Ugh.
But you're like, that type of principle is the kind of thing I'd like them doing building sets.
I don't know if you noticed this, but the Hatter in this movie,
He's mad.
he's a little mad.
You know where that comes from, right?
Yeah, the Mercury. Every English person knows that because it's like, grew up in England. Jesus fucking Christ. The look he gives me.
Okay, David, that's kind of cruel that you didn't give me the chance.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't give you the chance to torment me like a cat with a mouse.
It's totally fine. Let's reset. Todd, reset.
Okay.
You guys know the thing about the Mad Hatter, right? Where that comes from?
Oh yeah, it's hat makers. They used to use mercury
Yeah.
to stiffen their brims.
David,
Or
do you-
their, not brims, but like the
Made him a little crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
do you make them crazy?
Right. So you guys know that. Definitely, David, you're being quiet. Do you know that?
Yeah, it's something every English person knows. It's like a commonly recited.
Okay, why
Okay,
are you
but
saying
why do
English?
you know
Children,
that? It
'cause I
doesn't
went
make
to
any
school
sense.
there, lived there for 13 years.
Oh.
Did you know he's so
Thank you.
committed to this bit
He's a fine actor.
that when I first knew him, he would stay up in the middle of the night and pretend to be from England online.
No one
Right.
has this level
I
of
would be
commitment.
up at like 4
On
in
the
the
message
morning.
board.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have
So-
to change his IP address to
Yeah.
mask it
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
it seem like
Yeah, I had a VPN
he
and
was
everything.
typing from straight and Big Ben.
God, I used to stay up so late just to be on fucking Oscar
You've
watch.
talked about you.
That's why I have the bag.
That's what you say. Is
Yeah.
that the bags under your eyes are a permanent effect of you spending time on the Oscar?
of me sleeping for 4 hours, like a night for like 4 years or whatever.
I was just that goddamn entertaining.
And when I got
Yeah.
to college, there was that moment where it's like, oh, I can just sleep until 1 p.m. You know, like no one's making
Oh,
me wake
sure.
up anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and then I got back into the old full sleep situation. Love that.
My thing was like, I mean, I spent a lot of time message boards, but my thing was like TV. When it was like, oh, Adult Swim exists,
Sure.
Comedy Central airs weird things after midnight, Conan doesn't start until 12:30, and then I just never slept a normal time
I
again.
realized the other day the only flame war I've ever gotten to online was about the TV show Party of Five in the late 90s when I was a teenager. So that was on a message board.
Okay.
Right?
Good memories.
We've all had a flame war or two.
Ben, were you ever a message board guy?
No,
Never?
no.
You lived the message boards. You live in a tactile analog world.
I was burning boards of the abandoned house.
Planks of wood.
Yeah.
So the take on this movie is Alice doesn't want to get married. She's a weird girl. Her father tells her it's okay to be unusual.
Martin Sokas.
I think that seems kind of sweet.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Lindsay Duncan's good in this. Francis
CC-14.
Delator is good in
You know
this.
what? I did get an anarchist cookbook PDF on a message board one time.
Well, thank you.
You
Thank
went to message boards to ask for the PDF because
I
you didn't want to
tracked
buy
it-
the book.
Well, yeah, I tracked it
Right,
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
That rules.
She doesn't want to get married.
Yes,
She sees the white rabbit,
yes.
so she runs off.
No,
Who's the guy who plays Hamish?
Tony Bill.
Great.
He's fun in this.
Great face. Leo
Right.
Bill.
I'm
Good
enjoying. Oh,
performance.
sorry. Yeah, I'm enjoying all the performances in this for the first 10 plus minutes.
I think you got Tim Pigott Smith is
Yeah.
the step, the
I like
father-in-law.
all of this a lot, and I'm
Geraldine
watching this and I'm like,
James.
oh, maybe Tim Burton should have made Jane Eyre, but like a straight laced version. You know,
Sure. Let him at it.
like maybe he should have taken like a gothic kind of book and not done a Tim Burton version of it, but tried to like maybe that's how he could have grown if he's out of personal statements. Maybe he has to apply his vision to other worlds, but not the Tim Burton take on that world. But then
because what it's true because like what you said and it's in here. It's like Burton developed the story because he never felt an emotional tie
Correct.
to the original book. Maybe let someone develop it who has an emotional tie to
Right.
the original book. Maybe they've got some emotion that they'll pour into the movie.
But the first 10 minutes, I'm like, this is a decent setup of like, she keeps on, since she was a little girl, she has what everyone tells her are nightmares about Wonderland. They tell her that was a weird dream, but she's never really gotten over it. Now it's like 10 years later, 6 years later, whatever. She's trying, they're trying to force her into polite society. She never fits. There's that moment when she's dancing with Leo Bill.
Yeah.
And he says, like, where are you? Like, where's your head right now? And she was like, I was thinking about clouds. Isn't it bizarre?
Yeah,
I'm like, this
she's
is-
thinking about painting roses red. And all
Right.
that
And I'm like,
stuff.
this is kind of a fun character. And you're setting up this
I like
thing.
the mom talking about blockages.
Yeah, and everyone's like told her that she's crazy and that this thing that she remembers isn't true.
Yeah, no, we get it.
I gotta say
it.
though, Alice's stand-up set, "What if men wore dresses and what if people could fly?" just doesn't really work for me. She's got to work.
Well, for me also, it just feels like a little rigid. She should have loosened it up, made it a jazz set. I think that's what would have really made it sing. But then what drives me crazy, this is when I start to go like, what the fuck is this movie doing? She falls down the hole. The hole looks like a butthole. It's CGI butthole,
Yeah,
right?
and she's like, yeah, that whole thing sucks.
Right, and then immediately she goes, oh, this isn't real, I'm dreaming again.
Sure.
So it's one of those things where you set up for the first 10 minutes a character who believes what happened to her and everyone tells her she's crazy. And you want to see that character be vindicated by returning to Wonderland, getting the affirmation that it's real, and being able to save the place that she once lived, right? Instead, this movie goes, we don't need you.
No,
She goes, this is a dream.
Sure.
And they go, there's vaguely a war happening, but with very little urgency.
Yeah, exactly. You're demanding a story. The movie, once she falls down the hole, there's no story.
I'm demanding they pick a lane because I am totally fine with them making a live-action Alice in Wonderland where it's here's a series of vignettes.
You're totally fine with that?
Yes, if they own that it's a vignette thing and every vignette doesn't end with, you must claim the sword.
Yeah.
It doesn't aim with the fake posturing of we're creating a Lord of the Rings style battle.
What's weird is that every attempt to give this more of a story ends with like, well, Alice has got to fight the Jabberwocky and get the Vorpal sword to do that. And
Right.
like, I get why you do that, but like, what the fuck, you know?
This movie vaguely tries to pin a like chosen one narrative, a like prodigal daughter
They show her
returns.
like a scroll where she's killing the Jabberwocky.
But then it's also like everyone has amnesia.
I think the idea, this is barely a defense, but of them rejecting her is like, I guess, to add an element of mystery to that scroll. Because otherwise it would just be like, that's you. You're going to kill the Jabberwocky.
But I also hate that she immediately
and they're
goes,
like, is that you? And she's like, I don't know.
I hate that she immediately goes, oh, this is just a dream. So none of this matters.
It robs the movie of all suspense, of
And all agency.
intrigue. Yeah.
Right. Then the character has nothing going on. She's just like, I'm going to ride this out.
She
She just wanders from scene to scene.
She
Yeah.
gets
She's
shuttled
denying
around
the
by
movie
script
the whole
provisions.
time.
But
right.
I mean, in the book, it is a dream.
Right.
And, you know, at the end of Through the Looking Glass, she wakes up and she realizes that one of the cats was the Red Queen and the other one was the White Queen. And, like, it's supposed to be like, oh, a reverie, you know? And I guess they're sort of paying homage. Again, I'm doing the thing where I'm like, is this a defense? I guess that's the
But
defense.
this is where I get into like my biggest gripe with this movie, which is like, it's a sequel that also kind of wants to just repeat everything.
Well, you've mentioned this.
Because here's a take, and I'm not saying any of us would like this movie, but here's a cleaner version of the movie they're trying to make. Alice never gets over this bad dream. Everyone tells her she's crazy. She spends 6 years feeling disconnected from polite European society, right?
Mm-hmm.
She falls down the hole again. It's a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Sure.
They go, we've been waiting for you. Why didn't you come back?
Sure.
And
she
they're
has
all
to
huddled
untangle
together.
it. Right.
And she has to like lead them on a rebellion.
Well, here's the actual
Instead, this
plot.
movie is, I'm going to very slowly wander around, meet
Right.
everyone one at a time. Everyone's going to go, no, I don't think you're Alice. She's going to go, cool, well, it doesn't matter because I'm dreaming. And in the last 30
Where do
minutes,
I
she
go
gets the
next?
sword and she fights.
I do want to ask, was Tim Burton one of the people who tried to adapt the Lucky McKee game Alice in the late 90s?
Okay, so
Well, that's
great
the other
question.
thing I was thinking of. Yeah.
Everyone kept on saying that he was. And I think Lucky McKee kept on saying, I want to try to do it as a movie. I want Tim Burton to do it. I think Wes Craven was going to do it for a while.
Okay, all right.
But this movie has a lot of similarities with that game. And the whole, like, Alice needs to become a warrior and defeat the Jabberwock comes straight out of that game.
Yeah.
Which feels like one of the 6 things they're pulling from.
Right, right.
American McGee.
Ah.
Yes.
Lucky McKee is May.
Oh,
That
right,
movie
right,
May.
yeah.
I just had to look it up. I'm sorry.
I never
remember
got
that
my
game, though.
question answered, which is,
Which is a classic twisted Alice in
Right.
Wonderland.
And one of the first, like, this video game's made by an auteur.
Right.
Like, he put his name on it.
Like,
'cause this guy's
Sid
vision.
Meier. Except Sid Meier's thing was like, what if you could have a railroad? Like, not a story to a Sid Meier.
Chugga chugga choo choo. Here's my question I never got answered. What is the only capital G great performance in this movie? I think Helena Bonham Carter is very good, but there's one performance that is immaculate in this film.
Francis de la Tour. I don't know.
The pig.
Timothy Spall as Bayard the dog.
All right. Well, I have
He
a
is
couple.
so in the pocket in this movie.
I have one thing to
Bayard
say to you.
rolls. He's the Sidley the Spy Jet of Alice in Wonderland.
Now you saying
America
this
had
jet?
Bayard favor.
I'm doing my congressman again. This jet, his butt opens up, and the cars can go inside.
Does he feel pain? I ask you, Senator.
No.
Does Sidley have a rumbly in his tummy when the characters are speaking?
I have no problem with Timothy Spall's voice work as the fucking dog.
Bayard, his name is Bayard the dog, and show some respect.
Here's my problem. That dog looks like shit. Even by the visual effects standards of this movie, he looks unfinished.
All of it
He looks like the Scorpion King.
bad.
No, this looks worse. Like, where he has no hair that moves. He's just like, he's smooth, even though he like has hair on his body.
This is one of those movies where it's just like they
his
don't.
Him worse. I can't look at it.
I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is, this is one of those movies where they were just like, this is too much for any one movie to render. Like, there's too much shit. And the special effects people were apparently having just nervous breakdowns all the time.
Look at this. Look at this shit.
Yeah, but remember what he sounds like.
Look at this shit.
He looks like a dog who's being made into a glove.
Yes, exactly. He looks like he's been vulcanized.
The whole movie looks bad.
Hey, Ben, did you watch this movie?
Yeah, it fucking sucks. I hated this movie. I stayed up last night watching this.
Did you watch it when it came out, or you?
No. No, I took one look at it and I could tell it was a piece of trash.
It is filth. This movie is pure, disgusting, toxic
Seriously,
waste.
This is what I think. I think Tim Burton sold his soul to the devil. And this
is the devil like knocking on his door being like, it's time
to pay. This is bad.
And Burton was like, do I have to do the sequel? And he was like, no, I wouldn't make you do the sequel. Jesus. Come on.
Even I have limits.
Right.
I know most
Classy
people.
guy.
I know most people choose Planet of the Apes. I think this is his worst movie.
Oh, this is
by
100%.
Do you think this is worse than Planet of the Apes?
Yes. Of course.
Planet of the Apes
This
is at least
maybe
super
the worst
weird.
film we've ever discussed on this podcast.
And it's also one of the 5 most successful movies we've ever discussed on this podcast.
Right. And it's certainly his number one.
So number 2 is How Do You Know? Right?
No, how do you know who's in the nowhere near the bottom?
What's the one that was
Elizabethtown.
No, the one you're thinking of is
Nolte singing.
You Are the Best.
Yeah.
That one's low.
I'll do anything.
That one's
I'll
low.
do anything.
But
So-
you hated that one because you were stressed out that day.
I was having a moment.
There was a moment.
And I was
you
saying-
kicked us out of the studio furiously
Sure
after
did.
that episode.
And we had to record
Some
2
blank check behind the
episodes
scenes.
on that
And then
movie.
we had to watch a longer, hard to watch both dramatically and literally the visuals.
Good
cut.
reminder. But I had said Brooks deserves to go to jail for that movie. Tim Burton should be sent to space.
He should be spaced?
He should be spaced.
No, should he be sent to space like in a pod that he can breathe in, or it's like an airlocking? Right.
He's just frozen, floating around.
Like a Pericles pod.
Yes.
He's like tucked in there in a
Yeah.
monkey-sized pod. Todd, I want to hear you get off the leash, David the Dog style.
Arf, Bayard style.
What Bayard style? Woof woof, Bayard style. What are the things that make you irate in this film? Like, give me your fire and brimstone.
Oh, God. Well, the only thing that really makes me mad is when people don't understand that the main character of Last Man Standing is a vlogger.
Yep.
But
important.
You don't know this, but Todd aimed a magnum at my head when I didn't know that. And
it's
cocked
still
it.
there.
Yeah, right. And Griffin talked him into uncocking it, but he's still pointing it at me. Right.
There's an indent on David's forehead from the pressure.
Now, when I watched this movie, I was watching it on the plane here, which you guys so generously paid for, blank check air.
Yep.
And I was sitting next to someone, and I kept angling away from them like I was watching porn because I was so embarrassed to be watching this movie in the year 2019.
It is crazy to think about if I saw someone watching this movie on a plane now, I would be like, are they in?
They might have escorted you off the plane.
I would literally be like, this person must be like sick and it's the only movie they can watch.
Also, maybe the worst place to watch this movie.
Sure.
And they were watching 13 going on 30 on their little monitor.
Sure.
And I was like, boy, Jennifer Garner's good in that movie.
Charming
Boy,
movie.
And I had to keep forcing myself to watch.
Yeah.
It is an ugly ass movie to look at.
It is.
The process of the story is literally just like sitting in a studio notes meeting and having like an executive be like, I don't know, what if the White Queen had a sword? What if like the crown could float around because the Cheshire Cat?
No,
explains it.
every decision is contradicted by a different decision.
Sure.
Every scene sets new story goals. Alice has no character arc, despite the fact that it's supposed to be about like her feminist realization of herself.
It does truly feel like Exquisite Corpse style. The live action bookends and the animated stuff in the middle were made by different people who were in no communication with each other.
Yes.
Like different scripts, different production teams.
Yeah. And to top it all off, when I saw this movie, I was trying to make friends with some people that I worked with.
Tim Burton.
I worked at
Johnny
the
Depp.
census. Yeah, Johnny. I worked at the census at the time, and they were like, let's go see Alice in Wonderland. And we went and saw it, and we came out of it, and I was like, boy, that was a piece of shit. And they were like, we all really liked it.
Ooh.
And then, like, I didn't get to have friends because of this movie, because I preemptively was like, what a bad movie. But I did get the futter whacking out of it. I used to just send that to people I worked with in the middle of conversations. And yeah.
So my sister Romley, much younger than me.
Sure.
So when she was growing up, I was like, I'm going to inundate her with all the things that I love the most.
Right.
And because she grew up in a household that was that I strong-armed my way into being the third parent of.
Yeah.
Grew up a big Tim Burton fan.
Right.
She called him Tim Burton. It would be an event when I would take Romley to see a Tim Burton movie. She saw this one with friends at a sleepover. And I said, how is it? And she said, it's okay. There's one thing at the end that's maybe the worst thing I've ever seen in a movie. And for 10-year-old Romley to say that, I went, oh, fuck.
Right.
Where, like, if she's saying
even her critical faculties were like, this is no good.
Right, and she wasn't saying in a snarky way. Like,
Right.
she was just like, there's one thing at the end where I don't understand why they would do that.
Right.
I didn't like it, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen in a movie. And immediately when it happens, you just go like, what the fuck is this? But it's also the weirdest Chekhov gun in the world because it takes maybe like 30, 40 minutes to get to Mad Hatter, right?
Sure.
Then they get there. Then what's fun about the Mad Hatter is, these people
Nothing.
are like...
No, nothing.
I'm sorry. What's fun about the Mad Hatter in the original text...
This is crazy.
Right?
Why is it Raven
the
like a
guy
writing
is
desk?
goofball McGillicuddy, right? He's bouncing off the walls.
Sure.
Right? And the Dormouse and the Mad Hare and all of them are
March
throwing
Hare.
shit. March Hare. They're all wacky. And Johnny Depp's take on the Mad Hatter is either he seems like a traumatized child or he becomes weirdly violent.
Sure.
He's never fun.
No.
Right.
And he never feels like wacky. Like
Not
he either
really.
feels like
He's either melancholy
victimized,
or he's like,
he's going to victimize someone else,
Sure.
right? When he goes into those weird like Joker voice, like
Right.
the Jabberwocky,
Yes.
right? So they immediately. What was the fucking point I was going to make? They offhand reference the Futterwhacking.
Right.
They go like, remember, he used to be fun. He's lost his will to live. He doesn't even do the Futterwhacking anymore. And she's like, what? What the fuck is the futter? Like, she's like rubbing her temples and she's like, out with it. What's the Futterwhacking?
Right.
And it's like, it's the celebratory dance you can only do when peace is restored to the kingdom. Then they just leave that thing on the
Sure.
table for an hour and a half. All of us forget about it
No,
because
but
we want to forget.
It is the only narrative thread they track in
They
this fucking
occasionally
movie.
will be like the Cheshire Cat has the thing
They'll-
that's like, I love to see you futter whacking. Like,
But they make it seem like that's going to be the great victory of the film.
sure.
And then he
Well, it
does
is.
like CGI crumping.
For like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
He's sort of like,
It feels like an eternity.
it does. It's sort of like The Ring. Like once you look on it, like your brain gets like lesions that can't be removed.
And like this is
I don't
supposed
know.
to be like a victory
His head
lap for
spins
the
around?
movie. Yeah.
The score kind of goes like, you know, like it's sort of like half-hearted. Like
Nothing like the rest of the score at all. It
No.
just like
No.
breaks into like a modern pop.
Because
Sure.
Elfman is otherwise doing a totally serviceable, generic sort of.
incredibly generic.
Is
What
it
were
a
you gonna
dance
say?
for kids though? Do kids like that?
That's one of those things where you're
Yeah,
like,
I-
I don't know. This feels like it's out of like a Wiggles video or something.
Well, also you're cutting from him futterwhacking
Uh-huh.
to like Alice, who has like a wan smile. And
Yes.
the White Queen, who sort of like has her arms lifted and she's sort of like vaguely kind of like, you know, sort of moving back
And
and,
you're like,
forth.
Mia Wasikowska is
And-
probably reacting to nothing. I bet she
Sure,
never
all
met
of them
Johnny
are-
Depp.
Right.
Right.
And like the Tweedledum and Tweedledee kind of go like, hey, look, he's, you know, like that. It's not like everyone's like, yay, or there's some like crowd of people cheering. It's just
Another-
kind of like, oh, he's
You
fun.
should just cut to Yubnub from the
They should have done
Return of the
Yub
Jedi.
Nub.
Of course.
Here's another crazy thing. Do you know that for this movie, they put Matt Lucas in a green, like, fat suit to have the egg-shaped body, then put him on stilts in the green screen space with Mia Wasikowska, but didn't use it as motion capture reference?
Okay.
They just had him in that extremely physically uncomfortable state, shoot all of his scenes, and then they were like, cool, and here's just raw assets of his face, stretch it onto the most horrifying looking creature ever imaginable, and then copy paste it and place it next to himself.
Just do two.
Right, there's all this shit where they had the actors act all the shit out, and then like,
Look at her dancing. Look at this shit. Look at her. Look at the laziest fucking dancing I've ever
look
seen.
how bad his dancing is.
He twists around. That's what it is, right? It's like he can twist around.
And this weird gray bleak.
Yeah, what is this?
That wiki that I
this
linked
fucking
to.
mist
It
background.
looks like a Mortal Kombat level.
David,
yeah.
I don't know if this is too forward of me.
Well, you're getting very forward already, but okay.
I'm stepping forward, and I want to say, I'm looking you straight in the eyes, and I want to say, you're looking kind of hot.
Hot David 2019.
Hot David 2019. You've called this the year that you get hot.
Hashtag on it.
Well, what's happened? What's your secret, David? How do you get so hot?
There's it's hard work, and you want to eat a little better. Maybe
Okay.
make sure you get outside, doing things like that, getting your steps, getting your exercise.
Okay.
But sticking to a weight loss plan, like what I'm talking about, can
Yeah.
be really hard.
That's my problem.
Especially when you don't know how to handle all the thoughts and obstacles that hold you back from making progress.
Like thoughts hits me hard. That's the
Thoughts
word.
are bad for you.
Yeah.
Right? But because like a lot of people might like crash diet, they'll lose some weight, but then they put it back on because they don't know how to like maintain.
A lot of people might do the crashing diet.
Sure. You just sit on your couch watching HBO.
Yeah.
But with Noom, you're going to lose the guilt. You're going to learn how to develop a new relationship with food. I can tell you how Noom is going to help you live a healthier lifestyle.
Lose weight and lose guilt?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now I've heard everything.
So here's how Noom works.
Okay.
You sign up. It's an app. Get it on your phone. You'll have personalized training.
What?
You have your own support team.
No.
For less of the price of like a single appointment with like a nutritionist or a personal trainer.
I don't trust any of those people.
You're going to talk to like a goal specialist. You're going to tell them what you want.
Okay.
Like I want to
be hot. I mean, is that what you said? You said I want to be hot.
I want to be hot. You know,
Hot David 2019.
I'm looking to like it might be I'm looking to lose a lot of weight. It might be like I'm looking to feel a little healthier. You know, you can sort of give them various scales of behavior.
More handsome. How would you put it? Hot.
And so your goal specialist, who's like a behavior change professional, and a nutrition expert and a fitness trainer, all in one, is going to help you track your meal habits, help you visualize portion sizes, help you see calorie density at a glance.
I can't see that even with my glasses on.
They don't ban you from eating food or anything like that.
Is this some kind of Footloose style? Run that food out of town. There's your diet.
Just teach you about moderation.
Okay.
If you go overboard, they don't shame you about it. They just let you know how to maybe get back on track tomorrow.
Nudge. Yeah.
There's an easy 30-second online evaluation that can show you how much weight you can lose and keep off.
Okay.
And it's really good because if you're strapped for time, it's just like 10 minutes out of your day. You know, like looking at the phone, whatever.
There's one other thing you forgot to mention.
Go ahead.
It's fun to say. Noom. So.
Like
downtown Griffey.
I've been using Noom.
Nooms.
You tell the app what goals you want to achieve, what you like about it, what you're looking for in terms of like food, exercise, hotness level.
Yeah.
You interact with your goal specialist. They've got a community for you to talk to. There are other new members who can, encourage you and you can encourage them.
Nothing bad has ever happened in an online community.
And it's very small and it's subscriber based, so it's not going to be like some cesspool of just people chatting online.
Yeah. This isn't Noom Chan. This is Noom Chat.
And, it's just sort of like a little bit better than maybe your classic calorie counting app or exercise tracking app.
Sure.
Like it's got a little more of a personal touch and a little more information than
I was just buying the results. Right now I'm getting lost in your eyes.
Because I'm so hot.
You're so hot.
Okay. Noom is designed for results.
Okay.
It's out with the old habits, in with the new. So you can sign up for your trial today at Noom, noom.com/check. So what do you got to lose? You visit noom.com/check. Start your trial today. That is noom.com/check. Start losing weight for good. Noom.
Noom.
That's what they say when Noom comes in the bar.
The wiki that I linked to, did it still have the name of the actual dancer in an entirely different font from the rest of the page?
It did, yes. But I have to alert everyone.
What's his name?
David Bernal.
Mikhail Baryshnikov?
I have to alert everyone.
Yeah. Oh,
it's time for us to talk about Fred
So
Claus.
Paul Giamatti's fucking locked in Fred Claus.
He is. But it's a weird performance because, of course, like Paul Giamatti is Catholic, but he reads so Jew culturally that it feels like this Santa is too nebbishy. That having been said, he's the one person who's finding the right comedic wavelength for the movie.
Right.
His makeup is very strange.
Yes.
Because they don't make his face rounder. They just make his beard huge, but then his hands are very chubby. Like he's got like pointedly fat fingers in it. I watched it recently.
I watched it this Christmas.
I've been fighting a lot of insomnia recently. And I just go down a rabbit hole of like, no pun intended, what's the worst thing I could watch that might make me surrender and my body will just
Why don't you
fall
watch like
asleep?
some kind of like sort of very sleepy art movie, like a Kiarostami movie?
I do that
or something.
sometimes and it doesn't work. And then I go like opposite end, like let the pendulum swing, watch Fred Claus.
A couple of
Casino
days before
Jack.
Christmas, my wife and I, both very busy people, finally had a night off together, and I spent that flipping between Fred Claus and The Family Man. And anyway, we're getting a divorce now. That's the end of that story.
Had you ever seen Fred Claus in its entirety before?
I had not. I had seen The Family Man in its entirety.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Fred Claus is demented.
I have never seen Fred Claus.
Fred Claus is peak Vince Vaughn thinking, I can just do whatever I want. People love me. Like that.
He got a $20 million pay-per-play contract off the concept Vince Vaughn is Santa Claus's brother. Like he and David Dobkin walked in and were like, Vince Vaughn and Santa Claus's brother. And they're like, cool, here's $20 million now, whether or not we make the movie. We just need to pay you a kindness for giving us this gift. Thank you. Rachel Weisz is in it. Kathy Bates is in it. Miranda Richardson is in it. America's favorite funny man, Kevin Spacey, is in it. Ludacris is in it. Elizabeth Banks is in it. John Michael Higgins is in it.
I have never seen the motion picture Fred Claus. All right, now back to Alice in Wonderland.
Do you know that Fred Claus has a scene in which Fred has to go to a meeting of Brothers Anonymous, which is brothers who
it's
are
like
dealing...
brothers of legendary creatures?
Frank
like,
Stallone.
Oh, fucking hell. All right.
Stephen Baldwin.
All right.
Roger Clinton. And Fred Claus.
Sure.
And everyone is like going on their spiels about like...
But how did they get Roger Clinton to do it?
That was all over the marketing, right?
All over the marketing.
Right.
And then...
Stallone was free?
Frank Stallone was free.
He had space in his schedule?
Like, well, you know, it used to be good. You know, things were fine. We were on the same level. And then Rocky comes around. Like, they never have any of them identify themselves by name.
Sure.
They just make references to the big credits that their brothers had.
Then my brother was elected president.
Truly. That's like the
in
joke they do.
1992.
And they're like, Fred, you've never spoken before. And he's like, well, you know, my brother's Santa Claus. And then everyone gets irate at him. They're like, you're making fun of us? Fucking Santa Claus isn't real. I got to deal with real Alec Baldwin.
There is an intense mythology about how Fred Claus is immortal in Fred Claus.
Okay.
How he's an immortal man who's always been like a 40-something Chicago schlub. They have to justify why he's the same age as Santa Claus and didn't get any magical abilities.
Yeah.
And what's the reason?
It's something to do with like they both were... like Fred was cursed and Santa was blessed, something like that. And but at the end he has to deliver all the toys because it's a Santa Claus movie.
Cursed with a silver tongue, gift of the gab. That guy's a motor mouth.
What's the movie that I just said? Oh, yeah, no, it was True Detective. True Detective was the one that bled Vince Vaughn of the motor mouth. It's gone now.
Yes, he
like
talks slowly
he can't
now.
reclaim it anymore. Right. Alice in Wonderland. She goes to the tea party. I don't know fucking know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it is a series
Here's
of
the
events.
plot. She shows up. They're like, "You're Alice. I'm not Alice." What
Much
back
like
and
in the
forth.
original book, she wanders through the forest. She comes across another person. They talk for 2 minutes. They go, "Well, yeah, don't forget it. You're not Alice."
Or
and
in
then
the
she
movie they
wanders
do
and
that,
finds
right, yeah.
another.
Yeah.
Right.
She's the caterpillar. And Alan Rickman. He's like, moves on. She ends up at the tea party.
She moves on.
Okay, the tea party. Everyone's crazy. Hatter's like, you're definitely Alice, which is unusual.
Hypothetically,
Everyone else is just denying that she's Alice.
Hypothetically, isn't the fun of this concept of doing a sequel that she doesn't have to meet everyone again and she can just live in a world where all of them communicate
You're
with
on the
each
record
other?
that you don't like it's a sequel. We got it. We have that. It's been written into the record.
But they all start helping each other. I mean, there's the dumb thing where the Cheshire Cat steals the hat, and when the hat starts flying at the guillotine, I was like, oh, fuck, is the hat magical now? Are they going to make the hat a character?
Mad Hatter walks her over to a castle and sort of flings her over on the hat.
She does a hat flight.
And there's some castle business.
She gets too big.
We've got the Red
Queen
Queen.
likes her because the Queen likes things that are disproportionate.
I kind of like the Red Queen stuff. I like that everyone is elongating themselves in some way to match her head.
Yeah, it's a
And
good
like that's
performance.
actually kind of subtle that like they have
Right.
they
have
don't
one
explain
thing.
it.
Right.
Then they do explain it later. But like she likes to put her feet on a pig.
Yeah. The castle's an eyesore. Her whole kingdom's an eyesore, but her performance is fun, and you're at least watching two actors who are both locked in talking to each other.
Yeah, kind of.
Right. And then it becomes about the fucking
Then it's like, if you defeat the Jabberwocky, the White Queen will be in
you
charge.
restore the kingdom.
But they predict the ending. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
it's
have
on a
that
scroll.
Fucking scroll.
So who cares?
It's a chosen one.
Yeah.
narrative.
And also,
It's her
is the
fulfilling
White Queen
prophecy.
good? She seems like a white supremacist to me. She's in like a white kingdom with
Yeah.
white people.
She's also like a necromancer.
I don't like her. Yeah, she's frightening.
That weird
She
flashback
can't move her
scene.
hands. She's like John McCain,
you
where he like
look-
couldn't like bend his shoulders or whatever. She's just got her
One
hands
of them
up.
is wearing a MAGA hat in the background in the kingdom. I swear to God.
That's the post-credit scene is the Mad Hatter just making MAGA hats. He's over the mill.
You're right.
These will sell.
And then she finds the I guess there's the execution scene,
Right.
Because they're gonna kill the Mad Hatter. He's gonna make some hats at one point.
Right, and he wins over the favor of the queen because he says he can make hats for her, but then she doesn't like the hat, so then she wants to execute him.
Well, she also realizes that he's in league with Alice.
Right.
Yeah.
Every so often, people just start speaking nonsense languages, which
Yes.
is in keeping with Lewis Carroll.
Sure,
But like, you know,
nonsense.
But I do. The thing I hate about this is Alice just like is friends with people immediately because
Everyone
she's
kind of tolerates
read
her.
the book
But
or
also
something.
they're both antagonistic
Sure.
to each other. Like she's
Yeah.
like, "You're not real. This is a dream," and
Like
they're like,
she-
"Fuck you. You're a phony."
Then she's really like, oh, I got to save the Mad Hatter, and because he's played by Johnny Depp. It's
right?
like,
Why do you care about any of these people? Why does anyone care about anyone in this universe?
Right.
puts on a suit
she
of
fights
armor.
She puts on the Kristen Stewart suit of armor from Snow White and the Huntsman. I forget, that might have come after this. I can't remember.
Yeah, but they look exactly the same. Is Christopher Lee? Is this his last performance ever?
God, what a depressing thought.
Because this is one of those where it kind of sounds like he's on oxygen.
Didn't he pop
I mean-
up in the Hobbit movies?
Did he? He did. He is in one of them, I think, actually.
At the beginning of the
where
first
he's
one.
like, I'm Saruman, but right now I'm fine.
Yeah.
Later, I'm going to be a real pain.
Saruman the okay.
Yeah, he's actually in 2 Hobbits.
Jeez.
He's in the first and third. He's also in Dark Shadows and
Right.
Hugo. He had like another 10 years in it. He's fucking unkillable.
He
Of course
died at like
did die.
96, right?
He was very old, also very tall. Famously tall. He died at the age of 93.
Wow.
I think his last like non-posthumous release is Battle of the Five Armies, the
Okay.
last Hobbit movie.
Thank God he didn't end on this.
He did end on the Battle of the Five Armies, though, the last Hobbit movie.
You like those movies,
I
you
do.
say?
I
Yeah.
do. I kind of like them.
Okay.
I'm a little bit of a fan.
They're distressed assets, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like no one's speaking up for Hobbit, so
Look.
I'm like, I'll speak up for Hobbit.
I'm on the record. I've only seen the first one. I saw it in high frame rate. I thought it was a fucking nightmare. I want to do Jackson specifically to be able
Right.
to see all 3 of them.
But the high frame rate is a
Horrendous.
barrier. Like,
Yeah.
you should not watch it in high frame rate.
I
It's
also
one of those things where, like, ignore the director. Don't
I saw it
listen.
with my father, who had never seen
No,
nor
we've talked
read
about it,
any
right.
Tolkien, and was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Well, and also, it's the first third of a children's book is the movie. So it's like, you know, it just have to stretch a little.
That
Yeah.
first one is my favorite because it's basically just like a 3-hour episode of Cougar Town starring hobbits. Like they just hang out and like drink together. It's
a
great.
lot of that.
Yeah.
And then a couple
It's
of
like
Del
a boozy
Toro
brunch
monsters
movie.
show
It
up.
really is. It's a bottomless mimosa
It is. I
movie.
mean, the first hour is breakfast
Truly.
and then dishes.
That's why I think my dad was like, "What the
You're
fuck
right.
is this?"
The scene where the extended dishwashing scene
Right.
is wild.
He was like, "Isn't this supposed to have like sword fighting and shit?" They're like throwing frittatas at each other.
like, the end of the movie is them being like, so I guess the mountain's that way, like, basically.
I went with my father. We went to this screening that was like one of the first high frame rate screenings. And I remember we're walking in and there's a New Line like PR person standing outside the theater. And she's like, "Okay, first screening down. We only had 15 people walk out because of the high frame rate. So I think we're on a pretty good start."
Oh, my God.
And they were doing a Q&A afterwards with Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, and Peter Jackson.
Wow, all
and
three.
I forget who was moderating it, but like the movie ends and the theater is kind of like silent, and the person conducting the Q&A had to be like, "So, how do the 3 of you write? Do you..."
Is it like kind of like
take-
one page at a time?
Yeah. And then there were 2 laugh
Someone
lines.
does the typing.
2 laugh lines in the movie, and he was like, "So that joke, who wrote that joke? How did you come up with that joke?" Like
Wow.
he couldn't find things to ask.
Well, what's there to ask?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Go on, Tom.
No, I just was going to say it's an interesting comparison point because Lord of the Rings, there's so much influence of Lord of the Rings
Yes.
on this movie.
Right.
But there shouldn't be.
No, this feels right.
Like they redesigned the playing cards for
Yes.
no discernible reason so
Yes.
that they look more like orcs or something.
Yeah, they're more
Yes.
like armored.
Yeah.
No, that's what's weird about this because like Snow White and the Huntsman is not very good.
No.
But you're like, at least that's a better shitty movie.
Well, and
like
also-
it's just kind of dumb and it's like a bad approximation of
Sure.
Lord of the Rings and whatever, who gives a shit.
But it's like Snow White is a fairy tale.
Yes.
It's very, very simple. So you can really spin it as many ways as you like.
Yeah.
Alice is like this odd work of literature.
Right.
It's a little more specific.
Yeah.
It's hard to fuck with it. I guess people there's the video game, there's the things we've talked about,
Yeah.
but like, it's not a fairy tale in the same way. Disney got its claws on
Right.
it, but the movie's good though, the original.
I agree.
I love that movie.
And even like the old Disney Alice shorts are like some of the first shit Disney ever did. He did the live action Alice shorts are like great. I mean, there's this history of Alice within the Disney company that I think they want to latch on to. But after this, it becomes, oh, wait a second. What we should do is tie these closer to. I mean, Maleficent becomes the blank check of this movie, except Burton doesn't cash it. They really wanted Burton to direct Maleficent.
Sure.
He was in talks and then dropped out. So they hand it to Stromberg, who secretly feels like the person driving this movie.
Well, okay, this is my larger question.
Yeah.
What happened to Tim Burton?
I don't know.
This is the one where you're like, what happened? There's nothing.
This is when
going
I
on.
finally. This is when I finally kind of turned on it. Because this is the last one I saw in theaters.
But you say,
Right.
going into this, post Alice in Wonderland, you go like, did the guy just get lucky for 10 years and we all fell for it? Rewatching his movies over a short period of time, do you feel like you have to give him credit for what he did well in the first decade of his career?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like you've come around to being like, you know what, this isn't like a fluke. He did some interesting work. There's clearly a brain there.
I basically really like everything from Pee-wee to Sleepy.
Right.
I don't like Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
I'm mixed on Big Fish.
Right.
Or more mixed than you. I like it okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm mixed on Charlie. Don't like Corpse Bride.
Sweeney.
I like Sweeney.
Me too.
I love Sweeney.
Sweeney.
Is this the first one after Sweeney?
That's right. Ah, lovely. I'm a barber.
It
I'll
does.
pull your tooth.
This movie just becomes like confounding.
Come here, Fred Claus. You need a shave. What if you mashed up Sweeney and Fred?
Yeah. Fred v. Sweeney.
Fred Todd? He's his brother.
Fred
He's like,
v.
I don't know what's up with my brother. My brother's
Sweeney.
crazy.
Dawn of shaving.
Oh, boy. London. What a filthy town.
The point is, Maleficent is, I think, the Wolverton blank check of like, I would like to make a Maleficent movie.
Sure.
And then when that
It's like,
does,
let's really recast this in an entirely different light.
right, it's a take on
Exactly.
But
This
we're
is sort of halfway there. where
riffing
she's like, Alice should have more agency.
on the Disney
Right, but it's
version
like,
because Maleficent is such a Disney character.
Yeah.
And then after that, they went like, wait a second, what if we just do the animated films again? And now we're moving to this like nexus point where like the films have essentially become like AI, like they become self-conscious, where it's just like they re-render the old movie shot for
There
shot.
will be a Hunchback of Notre Dame movie. And they're like, there will? And it's like, yes, we will make it.
Right, like Deep Blue is like making
Yeah,
these
yeah.
movies now.
Can you name for me the 3 live action remakes from before this one?
In the Disney canon?
Correct.
101 Dalmatians.
Correct.
There's a Jungle Book from before. This.
Correct. Stephen Sommers' The Jungle Book, which
Right.
was a Disney production.
Yes, and is more off the Rudyard Kipling kind of original.
Yeah, and it has animals. It has like live animals.
Right, it's a scary movie because you're like,
When I
don't
saw it
let
in
Jason
theaters, and
Lott,
it's scary.
Scott Lee that close to that bear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the third one, it's sort of only, it's a sequel. It doesn't really count.
You're not 102.
102 Dalmatians, right?
They did do a direct-to-video sequel to the Jungle Book. They did a Mowgli story.
Sure, but that doesn't count.
No,
Come on.
no.
Anyway, Alice in Wonderland, it's a piece of shit. She slays the Jabberwocky,
It
and
makes
then
$1 billion.
she goes back and she's made $1 billion, and it
And
makes
she's
$1
like, I'm
billion.
not fucking marrying you.
Right,
And then-
and the dad's like, you've humiliated my son in front of all these people.
Yeah.
Maybe, do you want to run like a shipping route for
Right.
me? And she's like, uh-huh. And he's like, shake on it.
But this is the
And
beginning
it's like,
of the end
end. I
of
don't know.
Disney trying to create their own blockbusters. Like, despite the fact that this is like a legacy project based off a public domain thing that Disney has a history with,
Yeah.
this is trying to make something new. And after this, they're like, cool, like live action Disney is just doing nostalgia buttons.
Right. But
Like,
also,
that's what we're doing, nostalgia machines.
but also after this, Tim Burton only makes movies that are flops and critical flops.
Right.
Like, both don't make money and don't get good reviews.
Right.
This is the movie that made money but didn't get good
Right.
reviews.
And Disney is kind
And
of
so
just
what does
like,
he do 9 years later?
He does Dumbo.
He remakes another Disney movie.
And by the way, they have offered him every
Right.
single one of these in between
And this
Alice
is the
and
one
Dumbo.
where he's clearly like, I guess I should do that.
Right.
Like, rather than like, who cares? Fuck them.
Right,
I'll make
'cause
whatever I want.
They wanted him to do Through the Looking Glass. They want him to do Maleficent. They offer him all of these. They wanted
Right.
him to do their Pinocchio movie. Like, they keep on offering him these
Sure.
things.
But this is the one where now it feels like maybe even Burton smells blood in the water and is like, yeah, no, Dumbo. I'll do Dumbo. And
Yeah.
it'll hit, hopefully. They hope.
God, I hope it's just nice.
He
I hope
should
it's just like a movie.
He should just finally do his Oz movie. Like he's clearly got an aesthetic
There's
that would
a
work.
And
lot of
everyone's
shit-
forgotten the Raimi one.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like anyone's worried
Right,
about that.
which is the
Right.
other weird relic of this time, like a movie that makes like $220 million, and they're like, we know we can't make a sequel to this.
I think
Like,
Tim
we
Burton-
know we can't trick people
I think
again.
Tim Burton should get weird again. He should make a movie about adults or like teens, and it's like maybe it's like rave culture about goths, or just like he
It
should
sounds
get
like
back to what
Ben
he's
wants
good
to
at.
make that movie.
Yeah.
Have you read the graphic novel Black? Is it called Black Hole? I think that's right.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
my
the
God.
Charles
Tim Burton
Burns?
would be great
Oh,
for that.
which David Fincher was going to do for a while.
It's about like teens who, when they have sex, they start like growing extra eyes and horns and
That's-
shit.
Oh, you've never
shit.
read Black Hole?
No.
You'd have a good time.
All right.
You-
Ben,
you'd
I'll
be
make
into
a
that.
note.
I'm actually going to buy a few as like a birthday present
That-
because I want you to
It's
think
got
of me
it
when
all.
you're reading
Right,
it.
Okay.
exactly.
It's so good. You're right. That is a perfect thing for him to adapt. There are so many interesting graphic novels that Tim Burton could be making right now. There's so many weird genre films from his childhood. Like, he wanted to make like X, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes for a while, you know? They're like weird Corman movies that he could be like making. And when this movie came out, I was like, okay, this thing fucking sucks, but he had a $1 billion hit. At least his next film is going to be something straight from the heart. Like, he has such a big blank check.
Right.
And instead he kind of shrugs and goes to Johnny Depp and's like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And Johnny Depp's like already putting on his fucking Dark Shadows cosplay. Like, that's the real bummer of this movie.
Sure.
Is that
It
you're like,
breaks them all.
what if this was means to an end to get him making a personal film on a grand canvas again? And instead he's like, I don't know, I don't really have anything left to say.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Came out on March 5th, 2010.
Gross an absurd amount of money.
A day that will live in infamy.
$116 million.
That's correct.
The biggest non-sequel ever.
Coming up on its 10th anniversary.
Although
Yeah.
it is kind of a sequel. We are
Right.
coming up on its 10th.
But kind of to a movie that didn't exist.
Number 2 at the box office was also a new film,
Ooh,
a crime drama
a crime drama.
set in one of the 5 boroughs.
One of the 5
Now
boroughs.
think of the movie Gotti if you forget what the 5 boroughs are.
Yeah, of
because
course.
they're named in it.
He welcomes us to the 5 boroughs.
But wait, have you seen Gotti? I forget. You know, there's a scene
I
where
know
Stacey
about it.
Keach just names the 5 boroughs.
Yes,
right?
I do. Okay. You got all 5 boroughs. Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Staten Island, and the Bronx.
You close them, makes a fist.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
He literally, he cites off the boroughs.
Right. To
in-
John Gotti, who's a New Yorker.
Right, in the way that like they have to explain to Alice in this movie, like the Vorpal sword holds all the power.
Does he pull up list of boroughs of New York City on Wikipedia?
Yeah.
on
Yes,
his
he
phone?
does.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
what do we got here? Alphabetical order.
Right.
Okay, Brooklyn. All
But
right,
he
I remember that
recites them with the deliberate and like laser focused, slow pace of someone who has to like unload dense mythology onto the viewer.
one. Right.
In the beginning, there was darkness, and out of the darkness came the Bronx.
Well, this one's not set in the Bronx.
Okay.
Where's it set?
Brooklyn
Brooklyn.
is it Brooklyn's finest?
That's right.
Anton Fuqua, baby.
One of the 15 Anton Fuqua movies.
In between,
Movies will surprise you where you're like, who directed that? And Anton Fuqua will sort of burst through the door and be like, I did! You can't believe it, but I directed that one too!
the other-
King Arthur, that was me!
the other weird thing is Fuqua's been on kind of like a hot streak.
He makes money.
Right,
I mean,
this was this mid period where he was
this-
kind of dipping.
This was.
and you're like, I guess
not-
Fuqua's out, but then like Olympus Has Fallen makes
Hit.
100,
Equalizer, hit.
Hit. Equalizer 2,
Southpaw,
hit.
He directed it.
right?
Not a hit.
No,
Magnificent Seven, did okay.
Did okay.
Equalizer 2, $102 million.
insane. Yeah,
He equalized again in that one.
he
This
equalized.
time to equalize for the second
Yeah.
time.
The odds were in his favor. Equalizer 2.
Yeah, he made Shooter.
Right.
He's made so many movies.
He's made so many movies.
Okay,
What did that open to?
$13 million.
And was that like Sidney Kimmel Entertainment? That was a now defunct distributor. I know that much.
Overture Films.
Now defunct.
Number 3.
Mhm.
Oh, what a great movie.
What a great movie.
It's been in theaters for 3 weeks.
Been there for 3 weeks.
I saw it twice in
You
theaters.
saw it twice.
I cry at the end of this movie.
You cried at the end of this movie?
What a great ending it has.
So it's
Some people don't like the ending. They're wrong.
It's an early 2010.
It was a holdover from 2009. It was
Oh, I know
positioned as an awards film, and then they were like, fuck it, let's release it in February. And it made a ton of money. In my opinion, the best performance given by this actor, with one other movie as competition.
When you said you cry, I knew what it was
Mhm.
instantly.
Interesting. So
Hell yeah.
it was originally awards contender. Then they were like, fuck it, we're giving
Big
up on those.
director. Big director.
And it didn't get like a limited release. They just
Nope.
straight up pushed it to February.
It was weird. They were just like, it's coming out in February. And everyone was like, what? But like, that wasn't going to be an awards movie? And they were just kind of like, no. February.
But it was kind of good. It feels like maybe the distributor didn't get it.
You know, I'd love to know what the actual reasoning is. Maybe it was unfinished. I have no idea. Maybe the distributor didn't have faith. The studio, big studio.
The ending makes you cry.
I love that ending.
Is it like a pointedly emotional ending that some people think is manipulative?
It's a twist ending. Big twist, right, Todd?
Oh my god.
A big sad twist?
I think it's sad.
Yep.
I think it's moving.
Do you know what it is? Oh,
Well,
you're looking
it's
at
just
it.
more, how can you not? I mean, I can't.
And it becomes a
I'll
surprise
spoil
hit.
it if I say anything.
It becomes a surprise hit.
I don't know if it was a surprise hit because it had a big star and it was from a big director, but it was a hit. It made $128 million.
Wow.
300 worldwide.
People expected it to flop, and then it did.
Yeah, I think because of the February thing, people were
Right.
like, "Is this thing a mess?"
Yeah.
And then
And it just
came
wasn't.
out.
It just wasn't an Oscar player, is what it was.
Exactly.
Is it
was
kind
more
of genre?
Very genre.
Very genre.
We like to quote this movie, you and I.
Oh!
That's right. What are we?
You and I are duly appointed federal marshals.
Hell yeah.
The film is.
Shutter Island.
Shutter Island. Hey, we
Shutter
gotta go to
Island.
this island here.
Right. You're right.
In
That
its
should have
third
given
week,
it away.
$13 million.
A twist that angers people, but you find deeply emotional, should have given it away.
They did this for him.
I get
It
it.
was for
I
him.
get it.
And did it work? Probably not.
No.
David, do you want us to do that for you?
Put me on Shutter Island.
What if this podcast
Make
was
me
your Shutter
crazy.
Island?
I mean, you know Jackie Earle Haley.
I
You
do.
could get him in for 5 minutes to be like, like lighting a big match. I got a lot of scars on my face. What a great movie.
He told me some good stories about making that film.
Really?
Yeah.
What, do you know why it was dumped in February?
No, I think it was that thing
It
where
was just,
they
they were
just
like,
went,
this is a genre movie, just
Yeah,
dump it.
yeah.
Or not dump it, but like,
Yeah.
forget Oscar season.
Yeah, I think so. No, he told me that was like the first movie where he had the courage to like ask for more takes.
Oh, wow. Sure.
That he
Where he's like, I've got another thing I want to try.
Gave
or
a
whatever.
performance, and Scorsese is so intuitive that like if he likes it, he doesn't need more. He's not a guy who needs a ton of coverage.
Right.
And he was happy with it and was moving on. And he was like, fuck, I like just kind of have come back after my career was like, you know, I was on the down and outs and I'm working with this massive director. And he like built up the confidence to be like, can I do one more? I think I'm not doing what I want to do and what I can't do.
Sure.
Because he's really good in that scene.
Great in that scene.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, you know Marty too, so we can get him.
My
in
two
for
best
dates.
friends, Marty
Yeah.
and Jackie.
Yeah.
I nosh with them. We get bagels every Sunday, Marty and Jackie and I. Okay, well, so that's number 3. It's a big hit.
Number 4. Oh boy. Saw this one in theaters. Comedy. Kind of an action comedy. Lazily directed, I would say.
Cop Out.
You damn tootin'.
Mhm.
A movie in which I remember like Willis literally has guns pointed at him at all times, right? Where
Yes.
he's just like, you want me to read the lines? Okay, I'll read the lines,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, correct.
He's got to come back, by the way.
Oh, no question.
He was a hit.
It's too bad he died. He can never come back.
Well, you know. Tracy is just being Tracy. He's just being silly, right?
It is also a movie so lazily constructed that they kept in the clapboards at the beginning and end of every take. Cop Out, scene 3, take 2.
But what I remember from the movie is that Sean William Scott is
Is
like
locked
pretty
in.
dialed in and he's
Yes.
having a lot of fun.
He's very fun.
Like he's like, come on, guys, this is fun.
He
and
has-
Willis is just like, Who are you again? You're the American Pie guy?
He has a
Fuck you,
very,
Stifler.
very fun, coked out 10 minutes.
Sean William Scott has gotten really good at being the best thing in utter catastrophes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's a professional.
Yeah.
He's a professional silly man.
How is he on Lethal Weapon? Have you been watching
He's-
The Weapon? Have you been loading
I
The
don't-
Weapon?
I don't watch it regularly, but when I tune in, he's the best
He
thing on a
seems like
total
a good,
catastrophe.
good casting. Like
He's
they should have
having a
hired
good
him
time.
the first time.
And
Yeah.
the Goon movies are like one of those things that like in the 90s were common. Those sort of almost straight to video
Yeah.
franchises,
Sure.
but like he's kind of got one and he deserves one.
It is one of those things
There's
where
two Goons.
Kevin Smith always talks about what a nightmare Bruce Willis was on Cop Out and
Yes.
how uncooperative he was.
Sure.
And it's like maybe because he hated being in the movie Cop
He
Out.
didn't like you
Right.
because of your personality. Number 5 is a film we've talked about that does 3D better than Alice in Wonderland.
It does 3D better than Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, currently in its 12th week, it has grossed $720 million at the U.S. box office.
That could be any movie.
Now, I mean, here's some movies it could be: The Crazies, Valentine's Day, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief.
Is Percy Jackson in...
No, it's number 7.
Fuck, it's tough because all of these movies did over 700 domestic.
Exactly.
I'm trying to
The
think.
Wolfman, The
Over- well
Ghost
over,
Rider,
right.
The
These are
Blind Side. Well, that
All
one is actually a
huge
hit.
Right, yeah.
Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakquels in there at number 18. Holding Fast. It's still on 562 screens.
Let me ask you, did this movie inspire a very expensive theme park attraction?
It did, but you know what else it inspired?
What?
It's really well-written, witty Cirque du Soleil show with some sharp humor.
You're saying kind of like a subtle dry, a bone dry but razor sharp wit?
Exactly.
A cutting kind of wit?
My favorite thing is always to look at the bottom movie in the box office, which is The Cove this week. You remember The Cove?
Yeah.
Which has made $88 this week on 2 screens, so a per-screen average of $44.
So it inspired a Swiftian Cirque du Soleil show, a very expensive theme park attraction. It made over 700 million domestic. It's in 3D. It could only be one movie, Alvin the Chipmunks, The Squeakquel.
No, it's Avatar.
Oh, okay.
James Cameron's Avatar.
Where is Squeakquel, though?
18.
Okay.
Number 18.
That's still in there. I knew they came out the same month.
Yeah, and Avatar's at number 5 and has grossed $8 million in its 12th week.
Yeah.
So a little better.
A little better.
There you go.
Todd, any further things you want to yell about in relation to this movie?
I want to discuss how this film has 2 Oscars.
Yep. There we
go. It won
Fair to note.
films like Inception, The King's Speech, which, say what you will, great costumes and sets. What are some of the other ones that were nominated?
I mean,
'Cause-
art direction feels like the most egregious award to give this movie.
So, yeah, let's talk about some of the movies it beat.
because it won production design and
Yes.
costume design. And
Here's who it beat for art direction. This is
It
actually
was
outrageous.
nominated for visual effects as well.
Yeah, and it lost to
Right.
something.
It lost to Inception.
Okay.
Thank God.
A good movie. The art direction one is outrageous because literally every other movie should have won versus it, right? Like it's number 5.
Yeah.
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, which is a
Gorgeous
very
looking
well-designed movie.
Yeah.
Oh, all those are. Stuart
Yeah.
Craig, great.
But we, no, we both think Half-Blood Prince is the one that's the prettiest.
That's my favorite. That's beautifully shot.
Right.
Inception, which probably should have won,
Good
which
looking.
has
Amazing
all
production design.
kinds of insane production
Yes.
design.
Right. Incredible
The King's
rooms.
Speech, which has like really great subtle production design. The room that they do the sessions in is
The
really
porno set.
interesting.
You remember that.
Yeah. But a little more of a Tony
Sure,
period drama, but still better integrated, better,
Yep.
right? True Grit. Incredible looking
Yeah.
movie.
It is incredible. The other nominees in this category are all Best Picture nominees as well.
Good point. Well, not Harry Potter.
Oh, fuck. Right. I forgot.
I mean, maybe it should have been. Who knows?
That is crazy that Alice wins.
Crazy that it's winning because it's most production design.
Right.
I guess we would all agree, right? But
And then he, off that Oscar, gets to become one of those people who makes a $200 million debut film.
yeah, exactly. And like the production design in this movie is, we've already said, is abhorrent. It looks bad.
Yeah.
The sets are lame.
Yeah.
The concept art, like the weird plants, the buildings and shit, lame.
Yeah.
The Futterwacken, as we noted, is done in front
Lame.
of like a fucking arch. Like that's it. Like some kind of like rocks.
I
Yeah,
noticed
Bayard
it's all
rules.
supposed to echo stuff in the real world, but
Kind of,
fuck
but it's
it.
so sloppy.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really even ride that out well.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't commit to anything.
I feel like the costume wins a little more defensible, but also
A little more defensible. But that's like, I mean, my girl Colleen's done much better work than that.
Colleen Atwood defeated I Am Love, a great costume nominee.
Yes.
The King's Speech, which has wonderful costume.
True
The
Grit.
Tempest, Sandy Powell.
If you're going to give that
wild
movie,
ass costumes.
right, anything, give it.
And True Grit, which has beautiful Mary Zofries, the Coens'
Yeah.
regular collaborator. Those great costumes. You're mad about it.
You think True Grit went
Ben
0
made a little
for 10?
cookie catcher.
0 for 10?
I know.
That's
10.
not.
0 for 10.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
0 for 10.
What
It's
a
also
masterpiece.
weird what a
Can we
huge
do a
hit
Grit
that
cast?
movie was.
Not Coens.
Yeah.
Just Grit.
Can you believe that, though, that there is a Coen Brothers movie that grossed $180 million domestic?
Yes. Because it's great.
Yeah, but all their movies are great.
No, I agree. No,
It is
of
weird
course.
that one
The
of their
success
films
that movie is crazy.
overperforms so
that
well.
movie you think is like, oh yeah, it'll make 70. It'll be like a
And
big
that would've been
hit for them.
humongous.
Exactly.
Right,
yeah, it'll
yeah.
be sort of No Country money.
Right, but it was like number one for like 4 weeks.
It's
That was like the winter that was Jeff Bridges' king of the box office. It was like Tron. And True Grit were 1 and 2 for weeks on end.
and now they're doing a combo sequel called Tron Grit.
True Tron.
I do want to ask if you
fight for users.
I do want to ask if you guys think this movie has had any cultural impact, because I say no. But like I feel like
Yes.
I see that Mad Hatter a lot. Like when I had to go to Comic-Con many years in a row.
You
There
see,
were a
like,
lot of
I
Mad
think
Hatter.
it's dissipated
Yeah.
now, though.
I
do.
literally saw an ad for the app TikTok the other day that featured a guy who dresses up as the Mad Hatter and performs his TikTok.
I feel like there was still a good amount of it somehow, inexplicably, through like 2015.
Okay.
I feel like I don't see it that much anymore. Like I went to both of the Disney parks, the North American Disney parks in the last year, and it's fully just Jack Skellington land again.
Good.
It is that weird thing where we talk about what happened to Tim Burton, and there's this thing of just like Jack Skellington, the movie he didn't direct, but like his like, pure brainchild kind of thing, has become such an overpowering mascot of like what he represents that it feels like Disney just backs up the brink trunk to his house and goes like, can you just try to make something like that again, please?
Right.
Please. There's a rumor that they're going to do a fucking live action Nightmare Before Christmas now, which is just like
That's so stupid.
so stupid.
It's like reverse idiocy.
I think that's a better concept than movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think the concept is so
agree.
much better.
But the key also is that movie is like 71 minutes long and that Henry Selick's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess right. Where they're just thinking like, well, now the tech is caught up that we could
Right.
do it live action.
But the songs are so gorgeous. Like that movie is closer to the old Disney animated films that are super short, straight to the point.
It will be one of those things too, where it's like Beauty and the Beast, where they're like, remember that like 90-minute movie? Well,
Yeah.
This adaptation is 2.5
4.5
hours
hours
long.
long.
Yes.
Do you know that Tim Burton and Linda Wolverton have been threatening to do a Broadway musical of this?
Really?
Yes.
If they do, I'll come back.
She said she's working on it.
Is that like part of like
He's
ISIS negotiations or something where we're like, we'll take that off the table
Yeah.
if you stop gassing
Because
people?
there's that weird threat. Tim Burton was going to direct the what's his name, Jim Shaman Batman musical in the early 2000s. Do you remember that? Bat Out of Hell. Jim Shaman
I know him.
wrote an entire book for a Batman musical.
Out of Hell.
That's what it was going to be called.
Are you serious?
No. But he wrote an entire Batman musical that Tim Burton was going to direct on Broadway. They announced it in the trades, and some of the songs have leaked out. He repurposed some of them for like Bat Out of Hell 3. But the one that I like is called I Work the Graveyard Shift. And it's Batman talking about working late nights.
I'm seeing it. Sounds kind of good.
Graveyard Shift.
You've also got songs called In the Land of the Pig, the Butcher is King.
Uh-huh.
Which sounds like a Jim Steinman song.
Yep.
We're still the children we once were. What's going on?
I don't know.
Wait, are we done, Ben?
I gotta edit Snooki's fucking podcast.
All right, we gotta do ads.
Yeah.
You gotta do ads.
Where do you get all those wonderful toys? I think that's one of the songs.
It's the Joker's song.
Anyway, if he comes, a knocking on Broadway's door, we'll bring you back, Todd.
Wonderful.
And if not, we'd love to have you on for a movie you don't despise down to its core.
Oh well,
we can alternate.
Yeah, we can. That's my plan.
Some of your favorites, some of your least favorites,
Gem and
a turd.
Poop.
No, I can just stick around and give you some throwaway lines to stick into the ads that are going to go on this episode, so I can be like, "Wow, that's what great we had to say about Robin Hood, Chancellor Angela Merkel."
You want to give us a quick 4? No specifics. Talk about products without saying
I definitely
the
think we
companies.
should give Ben work to do.
Yeah, Todd, give us 3 quick ad reads, personal experience ad reads,
Okay.
without
All right.
naming the product.
I really use this product, and it's a thing that I brought into my apartment, and my cats all loved it, and my wife loved it, and now they all love me more, and I'm not getting divorced anymore.
Okay.
So
1,
that's great.
Ben, mark that as a select. 2,
The second is, wow, this product cured my scoliosis.
okay, mark that as a select. 3,
This product made me feel good about the state of the world today.
and 3rd select. And I think that's a wrap on Todd.
I'm sorry, I got to plug shit. I'm sorry.
no, I was
I'm
gonna say.
plug.
Please.
The new podcast is called Primetime. It's coming to your podcatcher of choice on April 11th.
Hell yeah.
I've also got another podcast called Arden. I'm not in it, but I wrote it.
Cool.
And people seem to like
Fiction
it.
podcast?
Fiction podcast.
So your dad thinks it's a lie.
Scripted podcast. My dad thinks it's a lie. He won't speak to me
Lies.
anymore. But you could find that. First season's out on podcatchers. I also have a book, Monsters of the Week.
X-Files.
X-Files Companion. It is in bookstores now, and you can find me on Vox and at Twitter, TVOTI to Voti.
And I
TV
also,
on the internet.
I know you're driving people to the new stuff, but I recommend if you got time, go back
Yes.
through the archives if I think you're interesting. So it was a wonderful show. I'm excited we'll still be continuing in some form or another.
Yes, listen to Griffin and David's episodes. They're great.
I do have a famous goof on mine though. Don't like that goof.
What else to say here? Oh, merchandise spotlight. Tragically, embarrassingly, the last 3 things ever released for Disney Infinity, my beloved video game, were Alice and the Mad Hatter.
Yeah, you told me that.
After they had
right,
canceled
right.
it, they were like, "Fuck, we already made these."
Here you
Mia
go.
Wasikowska did the voice
Yes,
for Alice.
yes.
Sure, she was
Yes.
compensated. I hope she
They
was
made a
compensated.
time one too. Sacha Baron Cohen and Johnny Depp didn't do their voices, but I have fucking Alice in Wonderland and Mad Hatter figures that are in a box that I'll never open ever again. Not like still in their packaging. Like I opened them and
Yeah,
then blood
put them away.
started seeping down my walls, and I locked them up in a crate and threw them in the bottom of an ocean.
Your house 1408'd or what?
Yes, it's 1408. I had a full blast 1408.
Is it 1408?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Todd, thank you so much for being here.
It was great to be here.
King amongst men.
Next week, Dark Shadows.
Oh my God, Todd standing up, doing the futter whacking. Next week, Dark Shadows with Jamie Loftus.
That's right.
We're getting dark, baby. And I'll tell you, after rewatching Mrs. Peregrine and Alice in Wonderland, I like Dark Shadows a lot more now.
Sure, it's got some energy.
It's got some energy. It's
Right,
got a
'cause
little
we recorded
bit.
that episode when we were more in the actually good
We
Burton
recorded
zone.
that like right after recording Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
and we were
right.
like, what's this thing?
right.
And now you're like, a rare return to form for Timothy Burton.
He appears to have given instructions to the actors.
Like now, when we were recording the episode, I was like, why did I stand up for this movie at the time? And now I'm like, I should have fought for it harder on the episode.
Right.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Go to blankies.red.com for some real nerdy shit. Go to TeePublic for some real nerdy shirts. Go to Patreon for some real nerdy bonus content. And I want to thank Pat Reynolds and Joe Bowen for their artwork, and Fergoto for social media, Lane Montgomery for his theme song, and as always, keep futtering that whacking.
Gross.